Colleagues, a very good morning and welcome to this morning's session. We are going to commence. And first on our list, I will invite the chair of the Credentials Committee, Liz Schuler, to present the second report of the committee. Thank you, Liz. You're welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. It's good to see everyone again this morning, and it's great to be a part of such an inspiring Congress. I look forward to today, and we have a very short report for you this morning to update you on the works of the Credentials Committee. During our meeting yesterday, the committee examined the eligibility of the two candidates for the post for General Secretary. The nominations received for the position of General Secretary are as follows. Brother Kamal Ozkan was nominated by 18 organizations from 16 countries within the deadline, and there were 4 nominations for Kamal received at a later stage. Brother Luca Vicentini was nominated by 134 organizations from 91 countries within the deadline, and 16 nominations were received for Luca after the deadline. So you will find those names and the countries of the organizations that made the nominations. They will be outlined in our second report, which is now available on the Congress website. The committee found that both candidates are eligible for the position of ITUC General Secretary, and we wish both candidates good luck for their election. We had a number of requests to change the lead delegate credentials for the vote, so we rectified those and we made the necessary changes, and that leads me to remind you that please make sure the lead delegate who will vote for your organization, make sure they are registered before 6 p.m. tomorrow so they can cast the vote for the new General Secretary on Sunday. I want to make that very clear. We are happy to report that the committee has not received any challenges to credentials of seated delegates. What a great sign of unity and strength. And yesterday, as of our meeting time, we registered 587 delegates, including 295 women. So the trend continues. Overall, exactly half of all delegates at this Congress are women. That is absolutely fabulous. We should take a moment to appreciate and feel very proud of our movement, and let's just give ourselves another round of applause. So with that, we ask Congress to endorse the eligibility of the two candidates for the post of General Secretary and allow them to stand for election. Have a great day, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Liz, for that very important report. Colleagues, can we then approve the second report of the Credentials Committee, approving that the two candidates are actually eligible to vie for the position of the General Secretary? Approve? Thank you. Let me also remind us that the change notification to the committee on the leader of delegation should actually be before 7 p.m. today, not tomorrow, please, because the voting is tomorrow. So any change in the delegation of the persons to vote should actually be registered today by 7 p.m. with the Credentials Committee, in case you have any change to make. I hope that is noted. Thank you very much. Colleagues, the next message we are going to receive is a very important message. In fact, Liz Schuler, in her address yesterday, reminded us that President Biden is one and only the pro-union president in the American history. And therefore, I invite all of us to receive and listen to the message from President Biden. Thank you.
To all the members of the International Trade Union Confederation, thank you. What you do matters. And to your outgoing General Secretary, Sharon Burrow, thank you for your leadership through these tough times, and they've been tough. For the health of our global economy, we need a thriving middle class around the world. I know this is true because America, the middle class is the backbone of our country, and the unions built the middle class. And worker power is a critical piece of building an economy that grows from the bottom up and the middle out, instead of from the top down. I'm keeping my promise to include labor in everything we do, union labor. From rebuilding our infrastructure to taking on the climate crisis, creating manufacturing jobs, union jobs for the industries of the future. My vision for America is no different than what people want around the world. A world that's fair and decent, where everybody pays their fair share, where every person is treated with dignity. And that's what all of you fight for every day. And I'm so proud to join you in that effort. America stands with you. Thank you. Thank you for what you all do.
We are really proud indeed of a pro-union president. Let me therefore use this opportunity to call on Liz Schuler to respond to this video message from our president, please. Thank you.
We are so proud of our president, Joe Biden. It's incredible. And when he took office, he said to us that he intended to be the most pro-union president in history in the United States, and he is living up to that every single day. He feels it in his bones. He wakes up every morning thinking through the lens of working people because he knows that the labor movement has transformed the American way of life. And he knows the power that we have to keep improving it. And we see it in his daily actions. He speaks the word union from the podium. He's not afraid to show that he is pro-union to the public. And he keeps working people front and center. There are examples, constantly of his dedication to working people, whether it was in the plans for the recovery and making sure that working people were front and center. He has a card-carrying union member as our Secretary of Labor, which is unusual for the United States, oddly. But he did. That was the first thing he did, was appoint a union member to oversee the Department of Labor. We have a task force on worker empowerment in the White House so that we can use the power that the federal government has to grow the labor movement. So whether it's procurement policy or regulations that the White House and our government can pass to make sure that unions have the ability to grow and thrive. That has never been done before. We have a National Labor Relations Board that is fighting for workers instead of corporations. In this moment where working people are organizing like never before in the US. So it's truly an amazing convergence of having Joe Biden in the White House in this moment. We have the American people, the most pro-union in 50 years. 70% of the American people are pro-union. And we have working people rising up, organizing, finding their voice. So we believe this is the moment for the American labor movement truly to grow. And we're so glad to have a champion in the Oval Office who knows that working people are the engine of the American economy. It has truly changed everything and given us the confidence to organize and really build momentum for the American people and for the labor movement. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz. Yes, truly democracy can work for the people if we have leaders that recognize that working with unions can actually make democracy to work for the people. And that is what we have seen in the case of America today. And therefore, comrades, that is why we have prioritized the issue of democracy And we must continue to work for democracy at all national levels if we want to change the narrative, to have good people, to have pro-union people, and basically we will have better outcomes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Liz. Colleagues, before I open the floor to continue our debate on our priorities, let me remind those that want to speak that the registration desks have already opened by 9:30, if we are not yet 9:30, and it's at the back of this building, and I encourage as many as want to take the floor to please go and register. So without much ado, let me then invite our first speaker for this morning, Paddy, is Richard from New Zealand, and Imani Ajabi from Algeria should be ready, and then Fred from American Federation of Labor should also be on standby. Thank you. And remember, it's 3 minutes, so please let's respect the time to allow others also to be able to speak. Thank you. You have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we stand and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I also want to acknowledge you, Sharon. You've been a courageous and inspirational leader to everybody here and everybody at home. Thank you so much. And thank you too to your team who have done such a great job in pulling this event together. Greetings from the New Zealand Trade Union Movement. The draft statement in front of us draws upon our past, our values and our character and gives us a platform for the future. It's an ambitious statement that is forward-looking and aspirational, but it's no head-in-the-clouds exercise. It calls out a multitude of serious problems for workers, including some atrocious and appalling attacks on workers worldwide, none more so than actually in a place not too far from here in our own backyard, Myanmar, where courageous union activists every day face grave risks standing up for fundamental rights for trade union members. These political, industrial, social and environmental problems currently experienced and looming for millions of workers are well documented in this draft and make for some pretty sobering reading. The draft recognises what we all know, that without strong trade unions and collective bargaining, we will never achieve a world that is fair and just for working people. As a movement, we need to wrap these things into a coherent framework so we can address the needs that need to be addressed, including using our collective strength, organisation, underpinned by our values. This draft statement does just that. This draft is about putting the ITU's focus and energy on the things that we need to have to face up to right now and in the years ahead. It alerts us to 3 important accelerating and converging global trends: climate change, the pandemic and global health, technology change, and the gig economy. These trends are felt by all of us. They are truly global and resonate in all corners of the globe, but they are felt by the most vulnerable the most. And I find when I have conversations with people like you in this room, we all share a common frustration that we can't seem to get ahead of putting profit before people in our countries. We know there are no jobs on a dead planet, as Sharon tells us. There's no people on a dead planet. But does that stop private capital in its mad pursuit of more accumulation? We know that when the pandemic exposed what jobs really did matter. We found out what was essential, but has that stopped us slipping back to rewarding tax evaders and corporate tax advisors more than essential workers in health and transport and the food industry? It's no coincidence that as a global movement, we are confronted with the same resistance the world over, because as much as we're organised and determined, so is global capital, which seems to be ever accumulating into fewer and fewer hands with more and more power. Delegates and attendees to this conference, the ITUC, as this document reminds us, is the peak body for the largest, most democratic representative force in the world, the trade union movement, and together we can take on these challenges, and I commend this document to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. I now invite Iman from UGT Algeria to take the floor.
السيد رئيس المؤتمر الخامس للاتحاد الدولي للنقابات، السيدات والسادة مندوبو المؤتمر، الحضور الكريم، أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير. دعوني في البداية أعبر عن سروري وسعادتي بحضوري معكم أشغال المؤتمر الخامس للاتحاد الدولي للنقابات كمندوبة في وفد الاتحاد العام للعمال الجزائريين ممثلة لشباب العامل في منظمتنا. هذه المنظمة التي أحدثت تغييراً جذرياً على قانونها الأساسي ونظامها الداخلي منذ انعقاد المؤتمر الثالث عشر شهر جوان 2019، وذلك لتمكين الشباب العامل للحصول على فرصته في الانتماء والترشح وتحمل المسؤولية النقابية منذ السنة الأولى على ولوجه الحياة المهنية. فلولا حصول هذه التعديلات القيمة والهامة على النظام الداخلي للاتحاد العام للعمال الجزائريين ما تمكنت اليوم من الوقوف أمامكم في أكبر مؤتمر نقابي دولي. يجدر التذكير هنا أن الشباب العامل قد تعرض إلى معاناة حقيقية جراء الأزمة الصحية التي تسببت في فقدان العديد من مناصب الشغل لفئة الشباب كباقي الفئات الأخرى التي لم تتمكن لحد الآن من الرجوع إلى نفس المستوى الذي كانت عليه قبل انتشار الوباء، ما أدى بالمنظمات النقابية إلى فقدان عدد معتبر من المنخرطين والمنتسبين، وأثر سلباً على العمل النقابي بصفة عامة ومنه على الاقتصاديات الوطنية بصفة خاصة. لقد أصبحت حاجة النقابات إلى الشباب العامل ملحة، وإن المحافظة على استمرارية العمل النقابي تقتضي استقطاب الشباب العامل للانخراط في تنفيذ البرامج المعدة من طرف المنظمات النقابية من أجل التكفل الجاد والحقيقي بالمشاكل الاجتماعية المهنية للعمال، بالإضافة إلى تمكين النقابيين من الشباب العامل من دخول الهيئات والهياكل النقابية بصفة أعضاء تنفيذيين يعملون على توسيع القاعدة النقابية وتنفيذ برامج تنظيمية من شأنها رفع عدد المنتسبين ومنها المشاركة في الحوار الاجتماعي والمفاوضة الجماعية. وفي هذا السياق فإن تعزيز القوانين بأدوات تنظيمية أصبح ضروري لتحيين وملائمة القوانين مع متطلبات الظروف الراهنة من أجل إعطاء الفرص وفسح المجال أمام الشباب العامل وتمكينهم من الوصول إلى المناصب القيادية في المنظمات النقابية. كما أنه بات من الضروري الاهتمام وتشجيع برامج دعم العاطلين عن العمل للاستفادة من حصص تدريبية وبرامج تكوينية تساعدهم على الدخول إلى سوق العمل وبالتالي الانتساب في المنظمات النقابية. هذه نظرة استشرافية على وضعية الشباب العامل وعلى مستقبل العمل النقابي واستمراريته في ظل الاهتمام المباشر بالطاقات الهائلة للشباب العامل. شكراً لحسن الإصغاء.
Thank you, Imani. Thank you. Youths are the future of our movement. Thank you. I now invite Fred Redmond from American Federation of Labor to take the floor. Good morning, Fred. Thank you.
Well, good morning, delegates. Please allow me to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, their leaders, past, present, and emerging. And on behalf of our president of the AFL-CIO, Liz Schuler, and our 12.5 million members, I want to thank you, Sharon Burrow. I want to thank you because your unwavering leadership and commitment. You have literally impacted, Sharon, workers in our country and around the world. Your service has made us a much stronger global labor movement, and we owe you a debt of thanks for your years of leadership. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. And I also want to acknowledge my brother Ayuba. Your statesmanship, your intellect, your professionalism have made us proud to be in your space over the years. Thank you for the leadership that you have provided to the ITUC. Look, the AFL-CIO, we stand with all workers everywhere. Workers who are on the front lines of democracy, in their workplaces and in their countries. In the United States, the labor movement is working to reclaim collective bargaining rights and expand voting rights, we're pushing to secure a path to citizenship for millions of immigrants in the shadows of the economy. We're leading the fight for racial and gender justice. And look what's happening right now. Across industries throughout the United States, working people are taking risks. They're walking out of jobs. They're going on strike. And across the world, authoritarianism is on the rise. But trade unions, all of you, are pushing back. You know, throughout our deep and long-standing relationship with the independent workers' movement in Iran, we're standing with thousands of union and human rights activists who are languishing. They're languishing as political prisoners in regime jails throughout Iran. And we must continue to speak out on their behalf. Their hashtag, Women, Life, and Freedom, tells a compelling story of a revolution that's taking place in Iran. And we must embrace them. So we're partnering with the Biden administration on the Empower Initiative in countries like Myanmar, Hong Kong, Belarus, and beyond. We've seen trade unions lead the fight against authoritarian regimes seeking to undermine democracy. The Empower Initiative is the largest commitment ever by the U.S. government to advance workplace democracy and support trade union rights in the global economy. Yes. This is the first time in my memory that the United States government have made supporting democratic trade union principles an explicit goal of our foreign policy and provided significant funding to back it up. So the AFL-CIO is committed to working with our brothers and sisters here today to organize and advance a new social contract that protects workers and democracies across the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. We must use workers' power to fight back. Thank you. I'll now invite Rougani from CGT France. Thank you. Oh, CGFO. Thank you. You have the floor.
Chers camarades, chers frères, chères sœurs, je tiens, au nom de Force ouvrière, tout d'abord, à déclarer ici notre soutien et notre respect aux propriétaires légitimes de cette terre qui nous accueillent aujourd'hui. Je ne peux commencer mon propos sans évoquer l'actualité immédiate, les horreurs de la guerre, en Ukraine comme ailleurs, toutes ces guerres qui s'installent et s'éternisent avec les souffrances et les sacrifices qu'elles provoquent. Même si nos appels sont sans doute bien impuissants, je veux réitérer ici mon appel à la paix immédiate et au cessez-le-feu. Je veux réitérer également un message de solidarité envers la population, les travailleurs et leurs familles, les syndicats en Ukraine et ailleurs, ainsi qu'envers les nombreux exilés de ces conflits. Comme je veux saluer le courage de toutes celles et tous ceux qui protestent en ce moment contre la guerre qui ébranle l'Europe en Russie et en Biélorussie. L'entête du manifeste de la Confédération internationale des syndicats libres à sa fondation en 1949 résonne plus que jamais. Pour le pain, pour la paix, pour la liberté. Ce slogan résonne partout où la liberté syndicale est menacée ou piétinée, en Biélorussie, à Hong Kong, en Afghanistan, en Birmanie, en Iran et sans doute ailleurs, où des camarades sont menacés ou emprisonnés. La guerre en Ukraine s'enlise et les conséquences de cette guerre s'installent sur les prix, sur les approvisionnements alimentaires ou nos sources d'énergie. La crise énergétique occupe largement nos débats, ici et dans chacun de nos pays, alimentée par la guerre en Ukraine et renforcée par le dérèglement climatique. Les mois que nous venons de vivre ont confirmé que ce n'est plus une menace, mais une réalité désormais bien ancrée à laquelle nous devons faire face au quotidien. Canicule, sécheresse, incendies, orages, inondations. Pour paraphraser un ancien président français, la maison brûle, mais nous ne regardons plus ailleurs, nous ramassons les cendres. En réaction à la hausse des prix de l'énergie, Les appels à la sobriété se sont multipliés. Le président français allant jusqu'à appeler à la fin de l'insouciance et de l'abondance. Pourtant, cela fait bien longtemps que pour les travailleurs, l'abondance et l'insouciance n'est plus d'actualité. Nous bataillons chaque jour face à une inflation galopante par la négociation collective et par la grève quand c'est nécessaire. Pour obtenir des augmentations de salaire, pour maintenir notre pouvoir d'achat, pour obtenir de meilleurs emplois. Il est grand temps que les travailleurs obtiennent leur juste part des gains de la croissance, car il n'y aura plus de croissance durable sans justice sociale. Et la seule abondance et insouciance que nous voyons aujourd'hui, c'est celle des multinationales et des actionnaires. C'est celle du monde dérégulé de la finance. Nous bataillons chaque jour pour que l'inflation, la récession qui se profile ne viennent pas servir de prétexte au retour des politiques d'austérité, de réformes structurelles et de déréglementation. Nous bataillons chaque jour pour préserver nos services publics, notre modèle social. Ces combats, ce sont les combats de nous tous. Pour les gagner, nous devons nous organiser pour renforcer nos syndicats, renforcer le pouvoir des travailleurs et des travailleuses, renforcer la justice sociale, œuvrer pour la solidarité syndicale au niveau international et préserver nos conquêtes sociales. La justice sociale, ça passe aussi par une plus forte implication et intégration des jeunes dans nos instances, car c'est à eux aussi de construire le futur contrat social. Vive la Confédération générale du travail Force ouvrière, vive la Confédération syndicale internationale.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Antti from STTK Finland to take the floor.
Dear sisters and brothers, dear friends, first of all, I'd like to thank ITUC for arranging and the Australian affiliates for hosting this Congress. I'd like also to thank General Secretary Sharon Barrow, our President, and all the team for the excellent work done during the past years. One of the main topics we have here in Melbourne is climate change and just transition. Just transition is a very important issue for workers all around the world while we are fighting against climate change. Just transition is important between the countries and also within countries. It's clear that we all will not succeed in green transition without workers. Workers' voices must be heard when we talk about the price of energy, jobs, and education. Green transition must be economically, socially, as well as geographically just. It means, for example, that the voices of workers are heard when we plan upskilling and education of workers to meet the green transition. Without listening to workers, people will only turn against the green transition. They will vote for political parties that promise easy solutions to complex issues and challenges. In this case, there is a risk of growing populism and unrest in the society. As we are facing changes in the work and working life, education and upskilling are more important than ever. We must make sure that all workers have access to upskill their knowledges and competencies. When we meet big changes like digitalization and green transition, workers need the new skills to be a part of the change. Too often we see governments and employers not willing to invest in workers' education. This will have a negative impact on workers as well as on the economy and the society as a whole. We all need to make sure that everybody, every children, all boys and girls around the world have access to school and education. We need also to to have a proper education that helps young people when they are entering the working life. These topics are very important in the coming years, and we have to fight to make sure we will be heard. Without education and upskilling, workers feel left behind. Sisters and brothers, we have always to remember, alone you can only ask, but together and united we can demand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you. I now invite Manali Shah from Siwa, India, to speak to us. Nuruddin from UGTT Tunisia should be ready. Is Manali Shah not ready? Can we then invite Nuruddin from UGTT Tunisia? And Tanya from Canada Labour Congress should be on standby. Thank you. You have the floor.
صباح الخير للجميع. باسم مناضلات ومناضلي الاتحاد العام التونسي للشغل أود أن أتوجه بجزيل الشكر إلى الرفيقة شاران وإلى الرفيق جاي وإلى الرفيق كذلك أيوبا لوقوفهم جميعاً مع التحركات النضالية التي خاضها الاتحاد العام التونسي للشغل من أجل الحقوق الاقتصادية والاجتماعية ومن أجل الحريات العامة والفردية. النقابيات والنقابيين نلتقي اليوم في المؤتمر الخامس للاتحاد الدولي للنقابات، وهي ملقاة على عاتقنا كثير من التحديات الكبيرة جدا. العالم في حالة معناها يعيش مخاض عسير، والأحداث تتطور معه. علينا بالذكاء النقابي، علينا بالإرادة النقابية كيف نجهز أنفسنا من خلال الخيارات والمضامين للمستقبل. الأخوات والإخوة، لا يمكن أن نحصر دور النقابات الأساسية في الدفاع على رغيف الخبز، بل أعمق وأبعد من هذا بكثير. نحن يعنينا التعليم المجاني، يعنينا كذلك في الخدمات الصحية، يعنينا أن نعيش في بيئة سليمة، يعنينا أن ننادي بالعدالة الاجتماعية، يعنينا أن ننادي بالعدالة الجبائية. وكذلك من مبادئنا الأساسية كيف ندافع عن الحريات العامة والفردية، وكيف ندافع عن الإنسان بحقوقه الكونية، وكذلك كيف ندافع على أي إنسان في أي قطر من الأقطار في العالم. وبذلك أقولها بصراحة، أعتز بانتمائي العربي وانتمائي الإفريقي، ولكن نحن منفتحون على كل الحضارات. ثقافتنا ثقافة التسامح، ندافع على الإنسان في كونيته، في حقوقه، في حريته، ولكن قناعاتنا كذلك أيها الرفاق والرفيقات ندافع على كل قضايا التحرر والانعتاق الاجتماعي، وفي مقدمتها وبوابة السلام هي القضية العادلة، القضية الفلسطينية. فتحية إلى نساء فلسطين، وتحية كذلك إلى أطفال فلسطين، وتحية كذلك إلى روح الشهيدة صوت الحق معناها شيرين أبو عاقلة. فعلينا جميعا أن نتحد من أجل عالم يسوده السلام وتسوده الطمأنينة، أن نتعايش كذلك في عالم بدون حروب وبدون قتل وبدون تشريد. فهذا هي قناعاتنا النقابية. أخواتي وأخوتي في درب النضال، علينا اليوم أنه مهما كانت قدرة الأمين العام الذي سننتخبه يوم غد، ولكن قدرته أن تكون له حركة نقابية عالمية متطورة. وأدعو من هذا المنبر أن نحدد يوما للتحرك على مستوى العالم من أجل العدالة الاجتماعية ومن أجل الحقوق. عاشت الحركة النقابية العالمية متحدة ومناضلة وتقدمية وديمقراطية.
Thank you, Nuruddin. Thank you, Nuruddin. I now invite Tanya, CLC CTC Canada, to come and take the floor.
Thank you. and I bring greetings of solidarity and strength on behalf of the Canadian Labour Congress, and I acknowledge the many Indigenous nations on whose unsurrendered land we live and work. The Congress statement reaffirms and recommits to the freedom of association and assembly, the right to free collective bargaining, and the right to strike. Today I want to share a story about just how fragile our rights as workers are, even in a nation like Canada. The story is about 55,000 education workers in the province of Ontario, 70% women, many racialized, members of the Canadian Union of Public Employees. These workers were determined to achieve their first real wage increase in many years. And when they couldn't reach an agreement, 96% of them voted to strike. And with that mandate, the union went to the bargaining table. But the government of Ontario refused to reach a fair agreement. And when these workers served notice to exercise their right to strike, the provincial government took that right away. At the beginning of November, the government passed legislation that was a full assault on our collective rights as workers. The government knew they were stripping these workers of their fundamental rights, and they used a clause in the Constitution to prevent us from challenging that in court. The legislation imposed a 4-year collective agreement with inadequate wages, and it made strike action illegal, with individual fines of $4,000 per worker per day. These strong and courageous workers went on strike anyway. In a show of incredible solidarity, they were joined by workers from public and private sector unions in communities across the province. Messages of solidarity and support came from across the country and around the world, including from the ITUC. That solidarity strengthened the resolve of these workers. And under the leadership of the CLC, unions spent a weekend organizing. We planned escalating actions in all sectors of the economy, and there was a commitment to a general strike. My friends, that show of workers' power, that strength and solidarity was successful. In an unprecedented move, the government backed down and they rescinded the legislation. These incredible education workers returned to work and the union went back to the bargaining table. Now, we still face challenges. These workers still need a contract and our rights are still at risk. But governments in Canada are on notice. They will think twice before they pick a fight with workers again. I thank you all for your solidarity, for your commitment to workers' rights, and I hope the leadership of these education workers in Canada inspires you in your struggles.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you. I now invite Yuran from Sako, Sweden, to take the floor.
Good morning, sisters and brothers. Thank you, Sharon Yuba. Thank you, Sister Sharon, and thank you to our Australian hosts. These times are surely troublesome for working people all around the world. And we can now see results of the COVID epidemic and the close downs. And today, I want to address the question of free and independent education for all. For our Confederation and its unions, it's evident that a fair and equal education is crucial for the empowerment of people, to lift populations out of poverty and to obtain prosperity in societies. Education is also fundamental for critical thinking and knowledge to handle disinformation and fake news that we see all over the world threatening our democracy. During the pandemic, many children and students lost their opportunities to go to school and universities. According to the UN, only 1 out of 3 10-year-olds in the world can read today. That is a dramatic decrease in a few years. Children shall go to school, not go to work. We want young girls to have the same opportunities to make their choice of life as young boys have. Only through education can we give the next generation better life than the one we have. In many countries, we also have witnessed how higher education institutions are being threatened because they are the home of critical inquiry and thinking and the free exchange of ideas. That is a threat for developing democracy and welfare. As trade unions, we need to protect free and independent education and research. We are the one that can enable next generation to gain better working and living conditions through increased awareness and education. We ask the Congress to underline the importance of investing in education to reach equal societies. Thank you, sisters and brothers.
Thank you, brother. I now invite Christian Ferrari, CGIL Italy, to come to the podium.
Cari amici, cari compagni, viviamo un tempo che minaccia la sopravvivenza stessa del genere umano. Prima la pandemia e ora la guerra, che ritorna in Europa con il rischio di un'escalation addirittura nucleare. Ma molti altri sono i conflitti, spesso dimenticati, che stanno insanguinando l'umanità. Il pianeta, invece di unirsi per combattere il cambiamento climatico, si riarma e si divide in blocchi contrapposti. Lanciamo da qui un appello alla pace, alla cooperazione, alla convivenza, anche perché sono i lavoratori i primi a subire la devastazione della guerra. Nel frattempo, le democrazie perdono terreno e avanzano populismi e movimenti di estrema destra e su questo abbiamo presentato alcuni emendamenti al documento congressuale. L'Italia rappresenta un laboratorio in questo senso. I neofascisti, un anno fa, hanno devastato la sede nazionale della CGIL, perché è proprio il movimento dei lavoratori il loro primo bersaglio e siamo noi a doverli sconfiggere ancora una volta. Come CGIL proponiamo una rete internazionale antifascista e antirazzista che unisca tutti i sindacati del mondo contro nazionalismi, autoritarismi e per la democrazia. Una democrazia però che non sia governata dal mercato e dal profitto. La democrazia è innanzitutto democrazia economica, è uguaglianza, welfare universale, diritti del lavoro, a partire dalla libertà di associazione sindacale che è il primo fondamentale antidoto alle dittature. La democrazia non è concentrazione di potere e di ricchezza, crescita intollerabile delle disuguaglianze, saccheggio ambientale. Populisti e neofascisti sono solo il sintomo, la febbre, ma la malattia è un modello di sviluppo insostenibile che produce povertà, sfruttamento, ingiustizia sociale. Abbiamo a disposizione tutte le conoscenze e le tecnologie per far vivere ogni singolo cittadino del mondo in maniera piena, libera e dignitosa. Ma la rivoluzione digitale va messa al servizio dei popoli e non degli interessi di multinazionali, soprattutto occidentali, che impongono il loro potere sul resto dell'umanità. La CGIL è pronta a battersi insieme all'ITUC per costruire un nuovo modello di sviluppo fondato sul lavoro dignitoso, sul disarmo, sulla riconversione ecologica. Un mondo dove democrazia e diritti umani non siano il privilegio di alcuni, ma il patrimonio di tutti. E allora davvero buon congresso e soprattutto buona lotta a tutti noi.
Thank you, Ferrari. Thank you. I now invite Ashok Kumar Singh from India to take the floor. ITUC, India.
Thank you very much. Good morning, sisters and brothers, and the senior leaders sitting on the dais in the front of us. And good morning to the fighters. You're all the fighters, dais in the front of this. You're all the trade union centers, federations from all over the world. And we are all associated with the ITUC. We are fighting for the cause of workers, because the workers are suffering in the developing country, underdeveloped country, and the pro-capital country. And you are the voice of the working class. They are in the problems, and we have to work like a bridge between the workers' problem and the solution, source of solutions. That's why we should act unitedly, we should think unitedly, and we should fight unitedly till we get not the solution. Now, I'm coming to the main contest. This is the headline of the ITUC India. It's for you, for all of us. It gives me a great pleasure to be amongst you to deliberate and discuss a subject of great importance. It is obligatory on our part to revisit our role and obligation in light of the changes that have taken place on the labor front in the new economic world order. The International Trade Union Confederation, in its 16 years of existence, has been taken up the cause of the betterment of the quality of workers' life and has been successful to quite an extent. However, in the past few years, there is a visible change in the attitude of the employers who are now more concerned with the profits than people. The slogan of the Triple P bottom line has remained just a ploy to deceive the working class with an intelligent phrase. The truth is that the plight of the worker is worsening while the employers are getting richer. We've once again gone back to the era of Taylor, where productivity at any cost was the norm. An exploitative culture is being recreated. The worker class is rendered helpless. The unfortunate part is that the government, which were supposed to be the protectors of the working class, are hand in glove with the employers and have become a tool of capitalism, trying to brainwash the workers as well as the common people with fanciful slogans like "government has no business to be in business." They are systematically shrinking the responsibility of playing the role of a model employer. Justice and fairness seems to have required a back seat as capitalism is at its exploitative best. Globalization is worse. The pace of welfare and the future of the work is an important concern of the present times. There can be little doubt that globalization has not worked in the favor of the working class, but it in the organized sector or the organized sector. In fact, we have witnessed a rise in the wealth of the rich and decline in the earnings of the poor. This does not signify well for countries in the Asia-Pacific region, and even democracies like India are not caring about the interests of the workers. We still have a large number of the poor and unemployed. Automation and technology intervention are further reducing the opportunity of employment drastically, and growing contractualization is leading to short-term work durations. Job security is an issue that needs to be addressed seriously and urgently. The hire and fire system of the US is the new normal, but such a system cannot work in the country like India.
Thank you, Brother Sin.
Where the security
Thank you very much.
for the poor is rather non-existent. There cannot be two opinions that globalization has been unfair to the working class.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
1 minute, please. To add to their problems, the corona pandemic made things worse as jobs were cut drastically and many business and industrial organizations were forced to shut down. Most economic activities came to a stand. Still, recovery is still very slow. Further extensive technological disruption in the name of creating a new efficient workplace and resultant automation have hit jobs badly. This has led to a new and anti-work industrial order in which the role of workers is being minimized. 30 seconds, sir. And their interests ignored. Fixed employment of the shorter duration are fast replacing the earlier employment patterns. They provided security and respect to the workers. The new worker place in creating an economy that disempowered the workers, and even the trade unions are helpless. These changes pose a serious threat to the well-being of the working class, whose future seems bleak. The need of the hour is to create a large number of employment opportunities to handle employment, but that does not seem to be the priority. We need to work out steadily to creating a global movement.
Thank you, please. Thank you. Thank you, we appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, this is...
Thank you. Thank you.
The time is not end. When the workers will get the solution when the time is well end.
Thank you.
We have to fight, and fight.
Thank you.
We cannot say this is the end.
Thank you.
When the workers get the solution,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Sin. I now invite Namin Al-Sharif, GFLTU Libya, to take the floor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
السلام عليكم. بداية أحب أن أشكر وأحيي حراس هذه الأرض الأصليين، وأيضا تحية كبيرة للسيدة التي وقفت مع عمال ليبيا مع اتحاد نقابات عمال ليبيا قبل أن ينال حتى العضوية من سنوات. لقد نلنا العضوية من سنة فقط، ولكن السيدة شارون بارون كان لها مواقف كبيرة لا تعد ولا تحصى لصالح العمال الليبيين في ليبيا. كلكم جميعكم تعرفون بأنه من سنة 2011 صار عندنا الربيع العربي وسقطت الدكتاتورية، ولكن في الأثناء ثمت قوى أخرى تريد تمزيقنا، وفعلا نجحت في ذلك، وأصبحت وبرزت كثير من القضايا في ليبيا. صار هناك انتهاك صارخ لكل الاتفاقيات الدولية اللي صدقت عليها ليبيا، انتهاك صارخ لحقوق العمال. أصبح هناك عمال عاطلين بدون عمل، أصبح هناك عمال يعملون لسنوات ولم يتحصلوا على حقوقهم ولم يتحصلوا حتى على أجورهم إلى هذه اللحظة منذ 6 سنوات و7 سنوات، وهم يقفون أمام مجلس الوزراء من سنة لسنة يطالبون بحقوقهم ولا وجود لذلك. وأخيراً انهالوا عليهم بالضرب بالسلاح وغيره أمام مقر مجلس الوزراء وهم يطالبون بأجرهم. كذلك هناك من قال أن العمال دخلوا في الفقر. نحن في ليبيا العمال أصبحوا تحت خط الفقر. هناك من يقول في الكلمات السابقة أن هناك عمالة الأطفال في ليبيا. أطفال العمال هم من يعملون الآن حتى يسدوا رمق وقوت أبائهم. كذلك المرأة في ليبيا أصبحت تعنف لدرجة أن وصلوا لاغتيال المرأة في ليبيا، لقتل المرأة أمام أعين الجميع دون أي تدخل من أي جهة. نرى المرأة تقتل وتغتال أمامنا ولا أحد يستطيع أن يتكلم. لقد تعبنا كثيرا، وبالأمس استمعنا إلى الناس هنا يقولون الذين يتكلمون على أرضهم التي احتلت. نحن أرضنا احتلت أيضا، ولكن لم تحتل من دولة واحدة أو دولة واضحة. احتلت أرضنا من عديد من الدول، من ميليشيات عديد من الدول احتلت ليبيا، وإلى الآن لا زالت محتلة ليبيا، ليس من دولة واحدة فقط. كل هذه الدول تسعى إلى افتكاك القوى في بلدنا. وأنا هنا في هذا اليوم جئت لا لأقول خطاب رنان أو غيره، وإنما جئت لأطلب منكم ومن ITUC، من قيادة ITUC ومن كل المؤتمرين وكل اتحادات العالم، أطالب بتشكيل لجنة من الاتحاد الدولي للنقابات أن تلتقي الأمين العام بالأمم المتحدة ولمبعوث الأمم المتحدة في ليبيا أن يقول له هناك عمال في ليبيا، هناك نقابات في ليبيا، عليكم أن تجلسوا معهم وعليكم أن تسمعوا إليهم ولآرائهم. هكذا يفترض أن يكون. والمطلب الآخر والذي أطلب منكم دعمه في هذا المؤتمر، أطلب لجنة تحقيق في الجرائم التي تقام ضد الشعب الليبي اليوم، والتي تكون في ستر تام وتعتيم من الإعلام دون اهتمام منه، في مذبحة كبيرة ضد الشعب الليبي وشبابه ونسائه وعماله وأطفاله وكل الشعب الليبي.
Thank you.
العالم اليوم بين خيارين، أولهما البقاء في نظام ظالم جائر يزرع الانقسام والحقد والفساد، أو نظام آخر مقاوم لهيمنة النظام الظالم. قد جاء الوقت للاختيار بين هذا وذاك، وهذا في يدكم باتحادكم.
Thank you for your passion. Thank you, Namin. Thank you. I now invite Umar Farouk, first to Somalia, to come and speak to us.
Thank you very much, Congress. Thank you, President. My senior brother, Ayuba Waba, you have really made Africa proud. When we have deployed you, you have not failed us, and you led this global body with extraordinary distinction.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's a very proud son of Africa. My dearest sister Sharon, we are very happy for you. You are leaving an indisputable legacy for your undivided solidarity to the union movement. Colleagues, we are meeting at a time of a global economic crisis and massive domestic challenges. This crisis worsens our triple crisis of poverty, unemployment, insecurity, and inequality. This space has not yet opened up, despite our own struggles to pursue radical economic alternatives, both at home and internationally. As organized labor, the moment to act is now. We are campaigning organizations. We are not lapdogs. We are fighters who fight for the good cause. Colleagues, we are not prepared to tolerate massive levels of unemployment. As I said in Copenhagen Congress, our countries, especially those of us in Africa, and more particularly in the Horn of Africa, our countries are very rich, but our people are poor. They are poor because of misgovernance, corruption, mismanagement of resources. We will not accept widespread poverty. We cannot live with gratuitous levels of inequality which have made us the most unequal society on the planet. We must end the menace of insecurity coming from Somalia, and more particularly the Horn of Africa region, which is engulfed by unending insecurity, instability, and crisis. We call for peace, both at home in Somalia and in the Horn of Africa region. We welcome the peace deal that has happened in Ethiopia. We also want to express our sincere appreciation to both ITUC and ITUC Africa for their support. Colleagues, my union has been fighting a serious or egregious human and trade union rights violations for 9 years. But we succeeded. We defeated the most oppressive government. Our union is standing strong today. But as well, I want to pay tribute to our brothers and sisters in Sudan, which after many years of struggle, with the help of the ITUC and ITUC Africa, today they are here. Their union is recognized. Their right to freedom of association is respected, and we are standing with them in full solidarity.
Thank you.
Somali workers are demanding that people shall share in the country's wealth. Our members are speaking through our structures and demanding their lack of patience. They are calling us that they have had enough of unfulfilled promises to implement a decent work agenda. They demand a radical change in their socio-economic conditions and the creation of a powerful developmental state which intervenes decisively in strategic sectors of the economy. Colleagues, they demand a responsive and accountable governance. We must act, colleagues, and act through a new social contract. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Umar. I now invite Peggy Anita from LO Sweden. LO Norway, please. LO Norway.
Dear comrades, sisters, and brothers, let me start with a sign of gratitude to those that have paved the way before us for our rights, our gains, and our previous victories, and in particular the First Nations of Australia. They deserve our deepest respect and gratitude. Thanks also to Sharon and her team for the great job you have done through this Congress period. We are gathered here to create a new social contract, a social contract that can reverse the inequalities and injustices that have developed during the last decade. We experience a financial crisis, COVID pandemic, climate change, wars, and brutal suppression. We believe that the draft ITUC statement is good, but we also believe that it can get better. We have seen firsthand in Scandinavia that a social contract requires 3 things to deliver results: organizing, collective bargaining, and social dialogue. Organizing is crucial for power and for collective action. Collective bargaining and social dialogue is essential for empowerment, for collective team spirit, and for reducing the gap. International solidarity is a crucial pillar of the trade union movement. That is the fundament on which we have built strength globally, and that is how we have become the world's largest social movement. We stand by our sisters and brothers all over the world, in Belarus, in Myanmar, and in Palestine, and with our sisters and brothers in Ukraine. Where we are now, the war in Europe seems far away, but Norway is a neighboring country to Russia, and we feel the tensions run high every day. The war is first and foremost terrible for the people of Ukraine, but the war is also a war on democracy, including human rights and the core rights to organize and to bargain. So we have to mobilize harder on our side to defend democracy. There will be no gains without a robust organization. The war will increase inequality, and we need to go back to basics, organizing and building collective bargaining muscles. Brothers and sisters, we are the first line of defense for those who are the most vulnerable. With that in mind, we ask you to consider some few highlights and amendments in the Congress statement. We ask for reference to active labor market policies to be included in the climate section, and we appeal for a brief section to be included on the need to unify the global labor movement around peace, solidarity, national sovereignty, and for all superpowers to refrain from imperialism and aggression. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you. I now invite Mahmoud from Hackey's Turkey to take the podium.
Sayın Başkan, öncelikle 13 Kasım'da İstanbul'da sivil halkı hedef alan hain terör saldırısını lanetliyoruz. Başta hak iş üyemiz ve 9 yaşındaki kızının da aralarında bulunduğu çok sayıda vatandaşımızı bu hain saldırıda kaybettik. Masum ve sivil halka yapılan bu hain saldırı sonucu acımızı paylaşan Sayın ITUC Genel Sekreteri Sharon Baron olmak üzere tüm dostlarımıza buradan teşekkür ediyoruz. Hak iş olarak kim adına, ne için ve kimler tarafından yapılırsa yapılsın terörizmin her türüne karşıyız, karşı olmaya da devam edeceğiz. Değerli dostlar, kıymetli emekçi kardeşlerim, bugün dünyada birçok kriz yaşanmaktadır. Bunların başında tüm dünyayı etkisi altına alan COVID-19 küresel salgını ne yazık ki hepimizi etkilemiştir. COVID-19 birçok ülkede iş yerlerinin kapanmasına, üretimin aksamasına, işçilerin işten çıkarılmasına, tedarik zincirlerinin kopmasına neden olmuştur. Biz hak iş olarak ülkemizdeki COVID-19 gerçeğinin farkında olarak özellikle salgınla mücadele sürecinde sosyal diyalog mekanizmalarını en iyi şekilde kullanarak en az hasarla ülkemizin bunu atlatmasında büyük bir rol oynadık. Biz de sosyal taraflar olarak iş yerlerinin kapanmadan üretim süreçlerini devam etmesini, işten çıkarmaların yasaklanmasını, çalışanların kısa çalışma ödeneğinden eşit şekilde yararlanmasını talep ettik. İşçi ve işveren kuruluşları olarak çalışma hayatına ilişkin ortak bildiriler yayınladık ve önemli mesafeler aldık. Hak iş olarak, düzenli olarak iş sağlığı, iş güvenliği raporlarını yayınladık. Bu konuda gereken tedbirleri almaya çalıştık. Değerli dostlar, düzensiz göç krizi bütün dünyaya olduğu gibi ülkemizi de büyük ölçüde etkilemektedir. Yaklaşık 5 milyon düzensiz göçmenin ülkemizde yaşadığının farkında olarak bu sorunun uluslararası bir sorun olarak bütün dünya tarafından ortak bir çözüm üzerinde çalışılmalıdır. Aslında bu göçün esas nedeninin neoliberalizmin, dünyadaki adaletsizliklerin, savaşın, kuraklıkların getirdiği bir sonuç olduğunu farkına varalım ve bu doğrultuda birlikte bir çözüm arayalım. Özellikle dünyadaki küresel krizlere bir çözüm aranırken Rusya'nın Ukrayna'yı işgaliyle birlikte Ukrayna'da bir insanlık dramı yaşanmıştır. Hak iş olarak Rusya Federasyonu'nun Ukrayna'ya yönelik haksız ve hukuksuz işgalini kınıyoruz ve Ukraynalı sendikacılarımızın yanlarında olduğumuzu bir kez daha belirtmek istiyoruz. Hak iş olarak Ukrayna'da yaşanan savaş nedeniyle mağdur olan Ukraynalılara yardım elimizi uzattık, mültecilere ve işsiz kalan Ukraynalı işçi ailelerine ulaştırmak üzere elimizden gelen yardımları yaptık. Özellikle bu süreçte dünyadaki tahıl krizinin çözümü için Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Devleti Başkanı Sayın Erdoğan'ın aldığı inisiyatifle tahıl krizinin çözülmüş olmasını önemli bir başarı olarak görüyoruz. Değerli emekçi kardeşlerim, dünya coğrafyasında yaşanan bu krizler önümüzdeki süreçte de daha fazla etkisini hissettirecek gibi görünmektedir. Krizlerin etkilerinin azalması için daha fazla örgütlenmeye, daha fazla işbirliğine ihtiyacımız vardır. Son olarak Filistin halkıyla ve Filistinli sendikacılarla dayanışmamızı sonuna kadar sürdüreceğiz. Yaşasın özgür Filistin, yaşasın Filistin halkı. Hepinizi saygıyla selamlıyorum.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Thank you. I now invite Marie Tsem from UNSAS Senegal. And Wolfgang should be ready from UGB Austria. Is Marie ready? UNSAS Senegal? If she's not ready, Wolfgang, UGB Austria, should please take the podium. Thank you.
Guten Morgen, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen. Ich freue mich sehr, dass ich heute auch hier zu euch sprechen darf, und ich möchte zu Beginn meiner Ausführungen Sharon und dem Team sehr herzlich dafür danken, wie dieser Kongress vorbereitet wurde, aber auch wie der Internationale Gewerkschaftsbund in den letzten Jahren immer wieder Kampagnen für betroffene Personen, eingesperrte Kolleginnen und Kollegen und für freie Gewerkschaften gesetzt hat. Ich denke, wir leben in einer Welt der multiplen Krisen. Wir haben das heute und gestern mehrfach diskutiert. Und die Frage ist aber, sind wir als Menschheit in der Lage, mit diesen multiplen Krisen umzugehen und Antworten zu finden? Und ich bin der Meinung, ja, wir sind in der Lage. Aber die Grundvoraussetzung dafür ist Frieden, Freiheit und Demokratie. Und diese Elemente sind am meisten im Moment in Gefahr. Und liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, die Gewerkschaftsbewegung ist die größte Friedensbewegung der Welt. Es gibt keine größere, es gibt keine stärkere. Und das müssen wir hier heute und in aller Zukunft unterstreichen und uns dafür einsetzen, das durchzusetzen. Unser Freund Irakli hat gestern bereits auf die besondere Situation in Belarus hingewiesen und auf die Situation von Alexander. Und wir haben als ÖGB in den letzten Tagen Sticker verteilt, und viele von euch tragen diesen Sticker. Und ich denke, es ist ganz wichtig, wenn in einer Zeit, wo Gewerkschaften angegriffen werden, jeden Tag in der ganzen Welt, wo hier Kolleginnen und Kollegen sprechen, die nicht wissen, ob sie am nächsten Tag zu Hause im Gefängnis landen oder weiter ihre Gewerkschaftsarbeit machen können. Wenn wir in einer Zeit leben, wo beispielsweise in Italien von Faschisten das Büro der Gewerkschaften angegriffen werden, dann braucht es eine klare Antwort. Und die Antwort kann nur heißen, internationale Solidarität, gemeinsam gegen diese Vorgänge vorzugehen. Ich denke, es braucht eine ganz konkrete Kampagne des Internationalen Gewerkschaftsbundes für Alexander Jaroschuk. Und ich fordere wirklich den IGB auf, diese Kampagne zu führen, so wie wir das bei anderen Personen schon erfolgreich gemacht haben, wenn ich an die Lula-Kampagne denke. Wir brauchen das für Alexander. Alexander ist nicht nur der Präsident der belarussischen Gewerkschaftsbewegung. Er ist ein Symbol für Freiheit, er ist ein Symbol für Demokratie, und er ist eine wichtige Persönlichkeit in Weißrussland. Und wir wissen auch, dass es ihm gesundheitlich nicht gut geht. Er ist seit April im Gefängnis, und wir müssen alles tun,
um ihn aus dem Gefängnis rauszubekommen, ihn zurück zu seiner Familie zu bringen und ihn zu unterstützen. Und daher bitte ich euch sehr, dass ihr diese Initiative mit unterstützt, dass es eine Kampagne des IGB für die Freilassung und für die Freiheit von Alexander Jaroschuk gibt. Das ist mir wichtig, das ist uns wichtig. Und ich denke, so wie ihr gestern mit eurem Applaus gezeigt habt, das ist euch allen auch wichtig. Es ist ein Teil unserer Verständnis von internationaler Solidarität.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I now invite Maria, UNT Mexico.
Buen día, compañeras y compañeros. Enviamos un saludo a todos los pueblos originarios, en especial de Australia, pero de todo el mundo, y nos comprometemos con la defensa de sus derechos. Un nuevo contrato social es una necesidad fundamental. La política económica impulsada por los gobiernos del mundo ha exacerbado las desigualdades, precarizando las relaciones de trabajo, incrementando la brecha salarial entre hombres y mujeres, deteriorando el medio ambiente, aspectos potencializados por la COVID. Las respuestas que otorgan los gobiernos a nivel global solo generan más precariedad, desigualdad y una profunda crisis que incide en los derechos laborales. La codicia corporativa, la fuerza del Fondo Monetario Internacional y las grandes potencias mundiales amedrentan a los gobiernos y, por consecuencia, vulneran la democracia y la economía mundial. No se actúa a favor de los intereses de las personas trabajadoras y se destruyen los sistemas enteros para salvaguardar sus intereses económicos. Los derechos de las personas trabajadoras están en peligro. La violencia y el acoso en el trabajo ven aumento y la población en su mayoría ignora o tiene miedo de denunciar las malas prácticas empresariales. El movimiento sindical debe plantear que el convenio 190 sea elevado a la categoría de convenio fundamental. Los salarios no siguen el ritmo del costo de la vida y hay una crisis mundial en el empleo e incertidumbre por lo que respecta a nuevas generaciones. El progreso social y económico inclusivo, con prosperidad y compartido y un futuro sostenible parecen estar fuera del alcance de muchas personas. Por otra parte, existe una fragilidad social por lo que respecta al medio ambiente. Es urgente establecer un plan de acción tripartito impulsado por los sindicatos a partir de un nuevo contrato social, atendiendo a la implementación de empleos verdes, maximizando las oportunidades sociales y económicas de la acción climática. Ello con el fin de avanzar hacia economías y sociedades más ecológicas, neutras y resistentes. Se debe buscar que la economía sea lo más justa e inclusiva posible para todos y todas, creando oportunidades de trabajo decentes sin dejar a nadie atrás. Un nuevo contrato social debe ser la piedra angular de una nueva convivencia, partiendo del trabajo decente en el que se respete la dignidad humana de la persona trabajadora, donde no exista discriminación por origen étnico o nacional, género, edad, discapacidad, condición social, condiciones de salud, religión, condición migratoria, opiniones, preferencias sexuales o estado civil, en el que se tenga acceso a la seguridad y se cuente con condiciones adecuadas de seguridad e higiene para prevenir riesgos de trabajo y que se invierta en la economía de los cuidados e insistir en la creación de nuevos puestos de trabajo para mujeres. Sobre todo, que se respeten los derechos colectivos de las personas trabajadoras, tales como la libertad de asociación, la autonomía, el derecho de huelga y la contratación. La Unión Nacional de Trabajadores de México considera que todos los elementos referidos con anterioridad son fundamentales en la construcción de un nuevo contrato social que el mundo actual necesita y reclama. Nos pronunciamos a favor de la constitución de un nuevo cambio de paradigma que dignifique a las personas trabajadoras y sus condiciones laborales. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Dong-Yong Kim from FKTU, Republic of Korea.
안녕하십니까. 한국노총위원장 김동명입니다. 먼저 전쟁으로 극심한 고통을 받고 있는 우크라이나 국민과 코로나19로 시련을 겪고 있는 전 세계 동지들에게 무한한 연대의 뜻을 보냅니다. 지금 세계는 전쟁과 팬데믹 여파로 유례없는 경기 침체와 사회 갈등을 경험하고 있습니다. 이러한 도전을 극복하기 위해 민주주의, 평등, 번영, 회복의 기초를 제공해줄 새로운 사회계획이 그 어느 때보다 절실히 요구된다는 이번 총회의 성명은 매우 시의적절하다고 생각합니다. 특히 이러한 새로운 사회계약은 일자리, 권리, 임금, 사회평등, 포용이라는 6가지 노동자 요구에 기초해야 한다는데 전적으로 동의합니다. 그러나 최근 한국의 노동 현실은 새로운 사회협약과는 거리가 먼 방향으로 후퇴하고 있습니다. 특히 최근 급증하고 있는 플랫폼 노동자는 개인 사업자로 분류되면서 노동법의 사각지대에서 노동기본권을 보장받지 못하고 있습니다. 이러한 상황에서 한국 정부는 노동개혁이라는 미명하에 일방적으로 임금체계와 노동시간제도 계약을 추진하고 있습니다. 노동조합과 국민들의 의견을 전적으로 무시한 채 사용자의 일방적 임금 결정권을 보장하기 위한 직무성과급 임금체계를 추진하고 있습니다. 노동시간을 줄이기 위한 노력은 전혀 없이 특별연장근로 및 선택적 근로시간제 확대, 스타트업 전문직의 노동시간 규제 적용 제외 등 노동시간 연장을 위한 정책을 강행하려 하고 있습니다. 안전한 노동환경 조성에 앞장서야 할 정부가 시행령 개정을 통해 중대재해처벌법의 무력화를 시도하고 있으며 사용자는 관리 소홀과 규정 위반을 일삼고 있습니다. 지난날 한 제빵회사에서 20대 여성이 기계에 끼어 사망한 비극적 사고는 이러한 정부와 사용자의 노동계약 시도와 무책임한 태도를 단적으로 보여주는 것입니다. 한국노총은 이러한 상황을 타개하기 위해 ITUC가 추구하고 있는 새로운 사회계약을 위해 최선의 노력을 기울이겠습니다. 이번 성명에 명시된 대로 새로운 사회계약은 조직화된 노동의 힘을 통해서 실현될 수 있습니다. 이를 위해 한국노총은 코로나19로 어려운 상황 속에서도 조직화에 매진해 조합원 수를 1.5배 확대하는 성과를 거두었습니다. 새로운 사회개혁을 실현하기 위해서는 ITUC의 모든 회원 조직이 노동자의 힘을 구축하기 위해 힘써야 합니다. ITUC 회원 조직의 요구에 귀를 기울이고 지원을 강화하기 위한 노력을 배가해야 합니다. 이와 관련해 아시아를 비롯해 비공식 노동의 비율이 높고 조직률이 낮은 지역에 대한 지원을 대폭 강화해야 합니다. 아무쪼록 이번 총회를 계기로 새로운 사회계약이 실현되고 ITUC 운동의 영속적 가치인 모두를 위한 평화, 민주주의, 지속가능 발전과 평등 실현이 앞당겨지기를 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Veronica from Teko, Sweden, to come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Sisters and brothers, it's an honor to address you all. I want to firstly pay tribute to you, Sharon, for your outstanding leadership and to your decades of service to the trade union movement. We are so lucky to have had you lead our movement. Of course, thanks to all of you leading this Congress. Colleagues, we meet here in Melbourne at a crucial time. We all faced the devastating effects of the pandemic. At the same time, climate change already has devastating consequences for millions of people. The Russian war in Ukraine is devastating and an outrage. The international trade union movement must support Ukraine in every possible way we can. As the Congress statement rightly highlights, we also continue to fight threats to human rights and to democracy. We are constantly reminded that democracy must be defended and fought for every day. We see it in Ukraine, we see it in Iran, we see it in so many countries all over the world. In parts of Europe, we see a strong backlash in the rule of law, a backlash in LGBTQI rights and in women's right to choose. In the trade union movement, we must step up and face this challenge. Over the next 4 years, we must increase our efforts to make sure that tomorrow's societies are open, democratic, and inclusive. Trade unions must be at the center of debates and political processes when key decisions are made. Social dialogue is the key tool for building inclusive and just societies, and we need to continue to fight for our rightful place in these at all levels of the society, in the workplace, in the national dialogues, on the international arena. As a leader of a public sector union, I want to highlight the essential role that a strong public and impartial public administration plays in achieving a new social contract and in building democracy. But this will not happen unless civil servants and public sector workers have decent work conditions, job security, and a safe work environment. As a public sector unions, we will continue to fight until this is a reality for all our sisters and brothers. Colleagues and friends, seeing this huge room filled with trade union energy, I am convinced that we are ready to play a key role in taking on the challenges that we face, huge as they are. Colleagues, many of you work in incredibly challenging environments, even risking your lives to defend the rights of your fellow brothers and sisters. We are in awe of your courage and your conviction. You encourage us all to continue to work harder to shape the future that we want. And I want to finish by asking Congress to applaud you all. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Gilbert from CSB Burundi to please take the podium. Gilbert, CSB Burundi. Is he set? If he's not set, Christiana from CUT Brazil should come forward. And after Christiana, we are going to pause to take the report of the Standing Order Committee. Christiana, you have the floor, please. CUT Brazil.
Olá, companheiros. Em primeiro lugar, eu quero saudar a todos nesse 5º Congresso da CSI, em nome de toda a juventude das Américas. A juventude mundial, especialmente no país do sul global, é diretamente afetada pelo atual modelo econômico. Esse modelo que é desigual, que gera exploração, exclusão e pobreza, e pouquíssimas oportunidades. Esse modelo só funciona para o lucro das transnacionais. Não há espaço para a justiça ambiental e social, nem para a garantia de direitos da classe trabalhadora. O modelo vigente é a principal causa da crise que atravessamos na pandemia, a qual deixou os jovens em situação de maior desigualdade, com consequências físicas e psicológicas, que, em muitos casos, encontram-se sem acesso à educação e sem perspectivas de trabalho, que afeta particularmente as mulheres jovens. A transição justa é o compromisso com a mudança necessária no modelo energético para enfrentar as causas estruturais da crise ambiental. A garantia de direitos aos trabalhadores, mas também a possibilidade de decidir e contribuir para a mudança de modelo, com os principais princípios baseados na democratização, desprivatização e desmercantilização da energia e dos bens comuns, colocando o trabalho no centro. No novo modelo que apostamos como jovens, não há lugar para o racismo, para o machismo, para o patriarcado, homofobia e xenofobia. Aceitamos o desafio desta aposta e estamos nas primeiras linhas dessa luta. Somos os rostos das mobilizações que acontecem em todo o mundo, das mulheres estudantes do Irã, da resistência na Índia, dos ambientalistas da Europa, das lutas antirracistas dos Estados Unidos, da juventude organizada contra os governos de direita em Honduras, Chile, Colômbia e no Brasil. Este novo modelo só se conquista sabendo qual é o nosso papel quanto sindicatos e quanto juventude trabalhadora. É feito através das mobilizações com propostas coletivas junto aos outros movimentos e organizações. É urgente fortalecer as organizações da classe trabalhadora para defender os direitos, a democracia. Nesse sentido, o papel do sindicato como atores de democracia torna-se mais urgente do que nunca. A juventude trabalhadora reconhece a importância de reivindicar o Convênio 190, com a sua recomendação 206. A luta por um mundo de trabalho sem violência e assédio é urgente. A luta pela construção da democracia é parte de nossas lutas. O paradigma do empreendedorismo dissimulou a relação contratual dos trabalhadores, chamando-os de colaboradores, empresários, patrões, negando-lhes os direitos, aumentando a exploração e o lucro das empresas transnacionais. E esse paradigma ataca as normas trabalhistas, ignorando as histórias conquistadas e gerando figuras contratuais que impõem a precarização da regra. É necessário organizar os trabalhadores. Os jovens trabalhadores são mulheres, são gays, são trans, são bissexuais, são mães, pais, negros e indígenas. São reflexões propostas pelos sindicatos. No Brasil, os trabalhadores resistiram e elegeram Lula presidente. Que essa esperança chegue a todo mundo, por mais igualdade, por mais força aos sindicatos. Viva a classe trabalhadora, viva as mulheres, viva a juventude.
Thank you. Thank you very much, thank you. So colleagues, we are going to pause to take the report of the Standing Order Committee. And after the committee report, we'll then start again. So let me invite Felix and Tony, Chair of the Standing Order Committee, to present their third report.
Thank you, Chair. Colleagues, the Standing Orders Committee met this morning to discuss the amendments and proposals received by the deadline of 6 p.m. yesterday, according to the process set out in the plenary yesterday. There were basically two types of proposals received. The first were specific short amendments to the paragraphs in the draft statement. Virtually all of those were, the proposed amendments were accepted by the committee this morning. Secondly, we received longer text in the form of draft resolutions or statements. The committee has begun to work on how best to deal with these, and possibly in the form of a consolidated resolution along with one or two solidarity statements. In addition, this will take some time to work through, and we will update the plenary on this as soon as we possibly can. This is all work in progress, and more details would be made available once the committee is able to address all the amendments and resolutions that have been received. We thank all those who submitted the proposals by the deadline, and again, I thank the members of the committee for their work this morning. I thank you, Chair, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Felix. Thank you. I think the report is hereby received. Thank you very much. Thank you, received. Colleagues, we'll then resume the debates on our priorities, and I will now invite Michael from Ghana TUC to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, sisters and brothers. It gives me a privilege to be here to make this statement. And I want to recognize the great job that the leadership has done for the ITUC during this period. And we are most grateful for your service. The Secretary General, in her statement, mentioned the fact that now organized capital is virtually working in a manner that is eroding the interest and the liberties, the successes that has been achieved over the years. And this is actually hurting labor. And it is an issue I wish that this Congress will consider seriously, and the ITUC going forward, the next leadership should find a means to look at how we can address the threat that is coming from organized capital through employers and governments. Subtly, many of the liberties that have been achieved over the years are under threat, and workers are at the receiving end all across the world. And it is important that we don't lose sight of the dangers that are looming. Strategically, organized capital is working in a manner under the guise of promoting democracy within the trade union movements across the world, disintegrating the front and the unity that is prevailing. In many countries, now labor movements are being disintegrated under the auspices of freedom of association, and that is weakening labor. Splinter unions are cropping up all over the globe, and that is affecting the strength and the solidarity of the labor movement. I want to use this opportunity to call on the next leadership of ITUC to work with other global unions to foster a united front so that we can build a strong solidarity that will fight and protect these rights that have been achieved over the years, and ensure that workers' solidarity stand together and protect the interests and the rights of workers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I now invite Lizette from FH Denmark.
Dear sisters and brothers, it's a pleasure to see you all here in Melbourne. Last time we met was 4 years ago in Copenhagen, and I must say that during the last 4 years, we have not seen enough action when it comes to climate change. We are witnessing an increase in temperatures around the globe. This leads to disasters such as we have seen it with the flooding in Pakistan and the regions around. And we need to speak up. We need to speed up our efforts across countries and across sectors. Therefore, I support the Congress statement with the strong focus on climate. We must stand together into the trade union movement and demand just transition for all. I would like to take the opportunity to highlight the need for investing in more skilled labor. Transition from carbon economy to sustainable economy can only take place if we develop new technologies. In Denmark, our climate policy supports wind energy. In other parts of the world, other types of alternative energy needs to be developed. This requires workforce with the right skills. Only by massive investments in reskilling and upskilling can we ensure that new technologies will be developed and manufactured. Workers are a key in achieving just transition. Remember that, and again, united we stand, solidarity forever.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you. I now invite Adolfa City Autonoma Argentina to come to the podium.
Buenos días, compañeras y compañeros. Es un honor para nosotros desde Argentina estar acompañando y aportando en este gran congreso de la Confederación Sindical Internacional, de la cual somos fundadores y venimos acompañando a toda esta dirigencia desde el año 2006, cuando pudimos construir en unidad lo que somos hoy, una fenomenal organización que siempre ha estado a la altura de las circunstancias, de los debates y los desafíos globales para nuestra clase trabajadora. La declaración para nosotros retrata muy bien las amenazas que tenemos en este tiempo, en esta coyuntura difícil, pero como aporte quisiéramos que nos concentremos en delinear una estrategia para enfrentar esas amenazas. Por ejemplo, creo que en todo el historial de la CCI, todos los aportes, los compromisos, la voluntad, el estudio, la construcción de iniciativas, es un acumulado muy importante y creo que hemos estado atentos y muy unidos, con algunas diferencias, pero con mucha capacidad de trabajar unidad, y esperamos que en este Congreso lo podamos hacer. Para nosotros, en la región en la que estamos, que es una región de paz, hemos construido y madurado unidad sindical para enfrentar los avances de una derecha que no es al estilo de los partidos democráticos, sino que es una derecha fascista, y consideramos nosotros que la CCI es un frente mundial antifascista, y en eso nos vamos a encontrar unidos para enfrentar y detener esos avances que se están haciendo en distintas regiones del mundo. En ese sentido, creemos que no alcanzan con las declaraciones por la paz. Creo que en el plan de acción de la CCI debería haber un plan de acciones y movilizaciones por la paz. No puede haber desarrollo con justicia social en medio de guerras, tanto sea de las invasiones que pueda hacer Rusia, como las invasiones que ha hecho y sigue haciendo la OTAN en distintos conflictos o en distintas regiones. Nosotros tenemos una base de la OTAN en las Islas Malvinas, que seguimos reclamándola como Malvinas Argentinas, y creemos que la CCI tampoco alcanza en este tiempo solamente resolviendo la conducción y los liderazgos, sino que necesitamos una confederación sindical internacional con intereses globales actuando en todos los campos. Y en ese sentido creo que en el lenguaje no podemos decir que estamos solamente en un cambio climático, sino que estamos en una crisis climática donde no todos tenemos la misma responsabilidad para salvar el planeta y para salvar esta tierra en la que habitamos. Por eso consideramos que más unidad de la Confederación Sindical Internacional es fundamental para esta etapa, y apelamos a que hagamos los esfuerzos para sostener una CCI con unidad y con capacidad de acción en los lugares donde habitamos. Mucha fuerza y a seguir trabajando. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I now call Luigi from CILC Italy.
Buongiorno, grazie a Sharon e alla sua squadra per il prezioso lavoro fatto in questi anni. Siamo molto fiduciosi che la nuova leadership che uscirà da questo congresso saprà dare con la forza della esperienza, della competenza, dell'impegno e della passione, un'ideale continuità alla strategia sindacale di CSI per un sindacato sempre più protagonista nella dimensione internazionale. Il nostro ruolo, come si sa, è oggi più che mai necessario, insostituibile di fronte ad un contesto di crisi così complesso che esige risposte immediate, concrete ai bisogni dei lavoratori, dei pensionati, delle famiglie, anche per riaffermare i valori fondamentali di cui il sindacato è portatore: uguaglianza, giustizia sociale, solidarietà, libertà, autonomia. La pandemia ha contribuito a rendere più povero il mondo, riducendo i redditi delle persone, aumentando la sofferenza, in particolare di donne, giovani immigrati che in molti casi sono costrette a indebitarsi per poter vivere. I mercati del lavoro non riescono a produrre sicurezza, equità. I governi sono spesso incapaci di assicurare un'equa distribuzione della ricchezza. L'aggressione russa all'Ucraina, che non ci stancheremo mai di condannare, sostenendo senza riserve quel popolo, e la difesa della democrazia per una pace equa, ha contribuito a rendere il mondo più incerto e difficile. È ora di dare centralità al lavoro ed è su queste basi che dobbiamo costruire un nuovo contratto sociale a tutti i livelli. In questa prospettiva è importante per noi è prioritario che le tante sfide, a partire da quelle tecnologiche, climatiche, ambientali, demografiche, industriali, energetiche, siano affrontate attraverso un modello partecipato con una forte azione negoziale di CSI nei confronti dei propri interlocutori. Pensiamo al Fondo Monetario Internazionale, alla Banca Mondiale, pensiamo alla necessità di rafforzare le relazioni col G7 e il G20. Dobbiamo non solo denunciare, ma soprattutto promuovere un nuovo modello di sviluppo centrato sulla persona e sul lavoro, che abbandoni le politiche di austerità, contrasti la speculazione e la finanziarizzazione dell'economia e che sia centrato su indicatori di benessere per far sì che l'economia sia al servizio dell'uomo. È tempo di rendere esigibile in ogni parte del mondo il diritto alla salute, rafforzando le politiche di protezione sociale e sanitarie, spesso trascurate, riaffermando la centralità che ci ha permesso di affrontare la fase pandemica. Noi dobbiamo sostenere tutto questo e permettere ai giovani di guardare al presente e al futuro con maggiore fiducia, promuovendo politiche adeguate per creare nuova occupazione, lavoro sicuro, contrattualizzato, stabile, per realizzare il benessere delle persone. E con queste premesse chiudo che ribadiamo il nostro impegno affinché il movimento sindacale internazionale contribuisca efficacemente e responsabilmente a rendere la società più giusta, più coesa, più rispettosa dei valori, dei diritti umani. Viva la Confederazione Internazionale dei Sindacati!
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Roberto from CTA Argentina. Roberto, CTA Argentina, and Kosato should be on standby. Yes, we called you earlier because Joshua is not available. Thank you.
Buenos días, compañeras y compañeros. Es un orgullo estar en el Congreso de la Confederación Sindical Internacional. Agradecer la gestión de Sharon cuando fuimos perseguidos en la Argentina por un gobierno neoliberal. Siempre la CCI estuvo respaldando las acciones que llevábamos adelante y repudiando la persecución. Quiero centrarme en un tema que es fundamental, el tema del derecho a huelga. En 128 países de 148, el derecho a huelga fue restringido o impedido directamente. Y hay que levantar la voz y decirlo claramente. Si no hay derecho a huelga, no hay libertad sindical. Y eso es fundamental, que la Confederación Sindical Internacional lo tenga en cuenta para dar las luchas que tenemos que dar en cada uno de nuestros países. El movimiento sindical es autónomo, sin ninguna duda. Decidimos los trabajadores y nadie nos va a decir qué es lo que tenemos que hacer. Pero no somos neutrales, no queremos gobiernos fascistas, no queremos gobierno de las corporaciones, no queremos gobiernos de derecha y tenemos que luchar para liberar a cada uno de los dirigentes sindicales que están presos en el mundo. La libertad sindical tiene que ver con ejercer el derecho a huelga y nos tienen que respetar los empleadores en todo el mundo. Y si no nos respetan, nos tenemos que hacer respetar con acciones sindicales, con lucha, con organización y con unidad de la clase trabajadora. Hay que decir que nos tienen que respetar porque de esa manera se alcanza la justicia social. Y por eso tenemos que trabajar. Hay dos candidatos en la CCI, pero hay una sola CCI. Terminada la elección, tenemos que construir y trabajar en unidad por la defensa del derecho a huelga, por la libertad, por la defensa de los derechos humanos, por la paz en el mundo, por la autodeterminación de los pueblos, para terminar con las intervenciones militares y con las bases militares y con un futuro próspero de justicia social y defensa de los derechos de los trabajadores y las trabajadoras. Muchas gracias a todos y a todas.
Thank you, Roberto. I now invite Mwagwena John, Kosato, South Africa, to take the floor. Mwagwena Kosato. And Hasbajan Singh, HM India, should be ready. Hasbajan Singh, you can come forward, please.
Thank you, Chair. General Secretary, Sister Sharon Barrow, other important office bearer on the dais, all the delegates of the ITUC coming from all over the world. Good morning to everybody. I have gone through the paper prepared by the ITUC very nicely. You have covered all the points, burning issues already mentioned there. But sorry to mention that our General Secretary, how she can forget the India? In India, our government of India, not honoring the ILO conventions, recommendations, and other things, openly violating Convention 144, 141, 144, Inspection 81, and all other conventions. Openly they are denying, they are violating, and we have raised this issue in the ILC, that inspection they have very diluted. And after listening to us, there was a decision of the dais. The inquiry commission will go to India. I don't know what fate that decision has taken place. That item is deleted from there. And I'm thankful to Madam Sharon Barrow. He decided to go to India to support our Indian workers' struggle. And she joined our rally, addressed the mass gathering, and she promised that ITUC with the Indian trade union movement. But Indian trade union movement is passing through a very critical phase, and our freedom is also on threat. Our constitution is also on threat. And in the paper, ITUC also mentioned the few names of the countries where seriously attack on the labor rights. But I don't know why India name is not there, because India is also facing a very serious attack on the labor rights, human rights, and also farmers' rights. And farmers are also sat on dharna for more than 1 year, and after that, our government bow down and withdraw their amendment in the farmers' law. But our 44 labor laws have been scrapped, and 4 labor codes have been formed in favor of the pro-employer, pro-capitalist, pro-multinational. And we are fighting. Last strike, 10 major central trade unions decided to go on 2-day strike. Can you imagine? 250 million workers participated in that strike. Now, still we have decided to go for indefinite strike. We are preparing for that. And on 2nd December, we will organize all over the India, from village to cities. And we have decided on 30th January, when the Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated, on that day, we called a national convention. In that national convention, we will decide future course of action of the all center trade union. And I will be very happy if Madam Sharon openly supported Indian labor movement. And I would like to mention, when Sharon went there, our government of India, Home Ministry, order for secret inquiry and asking from us how this foreign lady came to India. And Sharon Barrow and our Asia Pacific General Secretary Soya, both blacklisted by the government of India, not allowed to enter into the India. Later on, again, Madam Sharon went to India and supported our struggle. That issue should also be mentioned in the report. Our Indian constituent affiliates will be very happy for that.
Thank you.
And we raised this issue in our Asia Pacific region, and there, after listening to us, they passed a resolution in our favor of the struggle of Indian trade union movement. I would like that Asia Pacific ITUC resolution be adopted here and pass the resolution in favor of the Indian trade union movement. This is my viewpoint before you.
Thank you.
I endorse the paper. I endorse the demand, because all 6 demands are under threat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Hasba Bajan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Boris from CGT France.
Bonjour, chers camarades. Lors de notre dernier congrès à Copenhague, il y a 4 ans, le monde du travail était déjà confronté à une série de problèmes et de défis majeurs. Mais que dire de la situation actuelle? Qui aurait pu imaginer, il y a 4 ans, que la planète serait au bord d'un double précipice, frappée simultanément par la multiplication des conflits et des maladies. De la Palestine à l'Ukraine, en passant par le Yémen, l'Irak, l'Afghanistan et la Syrie, les conflits et les guerres se multiplient. Dans chacun de ces cas, le mouvement syndical se doit d'exprimer sa solidarité envers les peuples agressés, contre les armées et les gouvernements qui les agressent. De ce point de vue, la lutte de libération nationale du peuple palestinien ressemble à celle en cours des peuples d'Ukraine. Dans les 2 cas, il y a un gouvernement agresseur et un peuple agressé. Dans les 2 cas, il y a une résistance unie face à un État colonisateur et impérialiste. L'agression de la Russie contre l'Ukraine projette le monde entier dans une terrible spirale belliciste. Avec l'inscription dans la durée du conflit, nous constatons avec effroi le basculement d'une partie importante du monde vers une économie de guerre permanente. Dans de nombreux pays, mais au premier rang desquels la Russie, les oligarchies capitalistes tirent de substantiels profits de ce basculement. Je veux ici profiter de cette intervention pour exprimer la solidarité pleine et entière de la CGT avec le peuple d'Ukraine, résistant actuellement à l'agression de la Russie de Poutine. Paix en Ukraine, liberté en Russie et au Bélarus. La multiplication des conflits armés se double d'une précarisation croissante d'un grand nombre de travailleuses et travailleurs. En toile de fond de ces préoccupations, les attaques se multiplient contre le droit du travail et le droit de grève, avec une grande violence antisyndicale dans des endroits comme l'Iran, Hong Kong, le Bélarus ou le Myanmar, mais aussi plus sournoisement dans de nombreux pays européens. Notre congrès doit porter les voix de tous nos camarades emprisonnés, Je pense notamment à notre camarade du BKP, nos camarades du BKDP du Bélarus, en particulier Alexandre Yarouchouk, liberté pour Alexandre et nos camarades du BKDP emprisonnés. Les attaques contre les droits sociaux et les libertés syndicales sont lourdes de menaces. La précarité extrême des travailleurs et l'absence trop fréquente de droits et de liberté au travail est un terreau propice aux réponses autoritaires, à la recrudescence du racisme et au fanatisme. Dans un tel contexte socialement et écologiquement catastrophique, la mission de la CSI n'a jamais été aussi importante pour défendre la paix et les travailleuses et les travailleurs partout dans le monde. Au congrès de Copenhague, pour marquer le centenaire de l'OIT et son attachement à la défense des libertés syndicales, de la négociation collective et du droit de grève, la CSI avait pris la décision d'organiser une grande manifestation, une première de ce type, un meeting qui avait réuni en juin 2019 plus de 3000 personnes. La CSI doit renouveler avec cette tradition de lutte pour se rendre visible et démontrer son utilité aux masses travailleuses dans le monde. Elle doit aussi proposer dans son fonctionnement démocratique pour renforcer sa vitalité et sa pugnacité. Nous soutenons et nous souhaitons que les réunions de ces instances soient plus nombreuses et plus ouvertes. Nous souhaitons aussi qu'elles se dotent davantage de commissions thématiques associant largement l'ensemble de ses membres. Je termine cette intervention avec 2 mots sur le vote de demain. Il y a 2 camarades au poste de secrétaire général. Nous le prenons comme un signe de vitalité démocratique, mais quel que soit le vainqueur, nous souhaitons qu'il rende la CSI plus forte et plus unie. Merci, chers camarades.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I now invite Isabel from CS Panama to come to the podium.
Buenos días, compañeras y compañeros. Saludamos este Congreso Mundial y queremos remarcar la importancia de fortalecer los procesos de formación política en el sindicalismo y los procesos de comunicación que hagan frente a la agenda mediática de las grandes corporaciones. Es imprescindible la lucha contra las desigualdades, contra la pobreza, la violencia y el acoso, por la justicia social, por más democracia y equidad con mejores y mayores condiciones laborales en nuestro mundo del trabajo. A pesar de los retos y de las dificultades, tenemos que fortalecer la construcción colectiva, los valores y principios del sindicalismo como la solidaridad y el internacionalismo son más prioritarios que nunca en estos momentos para enfrentar las múltiples crisis, sobre todo las crisis medioambientales, las crisis sobre los derechos humanos que nos afectan en todo el mundo, como son las migraciones que en estos momentos nos están afectando porque tenemos gran cantidad de personas que se les cierra y se les niega el derecho a migrar. En estos momentos, compañeros y compañeras, es importante que haya unidad en el mundo para que podamos fortalecer nuestra democracia. Sin luchas no hay victorias.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Farouja from CGATA Algeria. Farouja, Sigata, Algeria.
Monsieur le Président, Madame la Secrétaire générale, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants de la CIC et les délégués des confédérations, bonjour. Tout honorée d'être parmi vous, je tiens à m'exprimer en tant que Madame Farouja Iyabaden, membre du Conseil exécutif de la CEGATA, Confédération générale autonome des travailleurs en Algérie, qui a la lourde tâche de la représenter lors de ce congrès. La CEGATA est une confédération qui lutte pour sa survie, qui continue toujours à se battre contre toutes les entraves et difficultés afin de rester debout, et cela grâce au courage et sacrifice de ses adhérents et adhérentes et de ses cadres. La Ségata, bien qu'adhérente à la CIC, n'est toujours enregistrée par les autorités algériennes, malgré toutes les recommandations du comité d'application des normes de l'OIT et celle de la mission de haut niveau envoyée par le BIT qui a visité l'Algérie en mai 2019. La région dans laquelle se trouve mon pays, l'Algérie, subit des bouleversements importants car le printemps arabe qui promettait beaucoup d'espoir a été stoppé par une contre-révolution qui a pratiquement touché tous les pays et qui voit actuellement tous les régimes autoritaires devant la scène. Le mouvement pro-démocratie et pacifique, désigné par le terme de Hirak, et qui a duré près de deux années, a été stoppé d'abord par la survenance de la pandémie Covid-19, puis par la répression. L'espoir qu'a été ce mouvement persiste toujours cependant, et c'est pourquoi la répression prend de plus une dimension particulière avec l'instrumentalisation même de la notion du terrorisme utilisée comme accusation contre les militants et militantes pacifiques dont le seul tort est d'avoir dit « nous voulons un État civil et non militaire ». Cela fait mal, mais ne nous a pas surpris. Ce qui nous a surpris, c'est la position prise par la CIC arabe qui a pris fait et cause avec les autorités en décidant d'écarter de manière arbitraire la Ségata de toutes les activités jusqu'à réaliser son dernier congrès le 14 septembre 2022 en Algérie, à Oran plus précisément, avec une présence des services de sécurité des plus clairs et toujours l'éviction de la Ségata. Et le vice-président de la CIC, M. Awan Théodore, peut en témoigner. Aussi, nous tenons à lancer un message à toutes les organisations syndicales à travers le monde ainsi qu'à la future direction de la CIC et plus particulièrement à son futur premier responsable qui sortira de son congrès pour qu'il ne laisse pas la Ségata. Les travailleurs et les travailleuses vivent seuls les heures noires de la répression. Nous demandons à ce que la Ségata soit rétablie dans ses droits, car il se trouve que la marginalisation qui vit la Ségata vient même d'une structure qui est censée s'adresser à tous les travailleuses et travailleurs à travers leurs organisations syndicales, c'est-à-dire l'ACTRAV. Nous sommes en droit d'attendre la solidarité agissante car nous vivons une des périodes les plus noires que vit notre pays. Si le Congrès a pour l'objet pour un nouveau contrat social, nous vous disons tout simplement que la question sociale, la question sociétale, la question économique et la question des libertés sont en train de subir un recul sans précédent dans notre pays. Évidemment, tous les militants syndicaux, associatifs, politiques sont ciblés car ils sont considérés comme ceux qui n'ont jamais abandonné la lutte pour un État de droit. C'est pourquoi le siège de la Ségata a été fermé pour une décision administrative comme en étaient dissoutes des associations et partis politiques. Je terminerai par souhaiter la réussite aux travaux du Congrès pour le bénéfice des travailleurs et travailleuses du monde entier. Merci.
Thank you, Sister Maria. Sigata, thank you. I now invite Maria L.O. Sweden.
Thank you, Chair. Dear sisters and brothers, if we don't stop the rise of the global temperature, we will no longer have a place to live in. No planet to care for. In some parts of the world, the consequences are already devastating. The climate crisis is an existential issue that affects us all. So our goal must be clear. We must push government to reach the requirement of the Paris Agreement. This goal requires a global transition of our economies, where every government must take responsibility and put pressure on employers to do the same. A transition is a challenge with social and economic consequences. It affects our members. Some jobs disappear, Other jobs change, but new ones are also added. The most important issue for the trade union movement has always been work. Work is the basis for being able to support yourself, for our members to enjoy autonomy and freedom, and the basis for growth and development. In the long run, there is nothing that threatens jobs more than ignoring the climate change. Because, as Sharon says, there are no jobs on a dead planet. We must continue pushing for a just transition. There is no turning back. We need to put emphasis on governments to step up and support investments in sustainable economies via strong and regulated subsidies. We must ensure that transition guarantees people decent work with good working conditions, permitting people to live a good and healthy life. Workers must be guaranteed training, reskilling, and upskilling. One of trade unions' most important tools for change is the right to negotiate. By requiring negotiations and including workers in every workplace, as trade unionists, we can actively contribute to achieving a fair and just transition. We must hold businesses and governments accountable for reducing emissions caused by their activities and preventing the emissions of greenhouse gases through technological development and changed productions. And for providing the skills workers need to enable that transition. Strong unions worldwide are one of the most important forces in reducing greenhouse gas emissions without leaving workers behind. Therefore, it is crucial also for the struggle against climate change that we continue building and maintaining free and democratic trade unions. Trade unions around the world are key to a climate-friendly future, and we need to have a strong roadmap and a stronger action plan to protect our planet and workers' future. As a representative of LO Sweden, I want to thank and give support to the work carried out by ITUC and the proposed actions in the Congress statement. Workers are the backbones of a just transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. I now invite Gerardo from CGT Argentina.
Buenos días, compañeras, compañeros, compañera Sharon, de la mesa ejecutiva. Quiero agradecer la hospitalidad del movimiento sindical australiano. Creo que estamos aquí en este Congreso soberano, después de haber transitado todos estos tiempos llenos de incertidumbre y con dos pandemias en los últimos años, una pandemia financiera y una pandemia sanitaria. Y creo que la gran reflexión que nos tenemos que dar el movimiento sindical es que debemos observar que cuando se presentó la pandemia financiera en el 2008, el mundo globalizado, el mundo del poder, el G20, el G7, el G2, tuvieron una actitud, de salvar el sistema financiero, recomendando a los estados, sean desarrollados o en vía de desarrollo, para asistir con recursos públicos para salvar el sistema financiero. Sin embargo, no vimos el mismo comportamiento ante la desgracia de la pandemia financiera. Todos hicieron lo distraídos, todos. Aún hoy hay países de nuestra región, que somos los que estamos en vía de desarrollo, que todavía la vacuna no puede estar al acceso de nuestros compañeros, de nuestras compañeras, de la sociedad civil. Indudablemente eso nos genera una gran reflexión, porque estamos hablando de vidas. Por lo tanto, creemos que esta Confederación Sindical Internacional, que se da la oportunidad de tener un debate y una pluralidad, como por ejemplo darnos la oportunidad de tener dos candidatos en este Congreso, pero creo que esa visión de pluralidad no nos puede enceguecer tratando de generar una división que debilite la capacidad de gestión y de poder que debemos tener en el movimiento sindical internacional. Apuesto, y fundamentalmente, las regiones en vía de desarrollo necesitamos una CCI fuerte. No pensemos solamente en aquellos países que quizás tienen problemas, pero la mayoría de los problemas los tienen resueltos. Todavía en nuestras regiones existe la criminalización, existe el secuestro, existe la muerte por el solo hecho de ser un campesino en lucha o en ser un trabajador o una trabajadora en lucha. Por lo tanto, tengamos que tener en esta oportunidad, y pensamos de aquellos sabios y dirigentes que podemos tener en el campo sindical, en apostar la concordia, al diálogo y a tener un consenso por encima de las opiniones que pueda haber relativas, en un consenso de unidad para fortalecer la Confederación Sindical Internacional. A los trabajadores y a las trabajadoras, ni en nuestro país ni en el mundo, nadie nos regala nada. Lo poco, lo mucho que podemos tener es gracias al esfuerzo, al sacrificio, a la capacidad y a la fortaleza que tienen nuestras organizaciones sindicales. Por lo tanto, me parece que tenemos por delante un camino para trazar donde tenemos que ser agresivos. Agresivo no significa ser violento. Agresivo significa no ser regresivo. No podemos estar más por detrás de los acontecimientos que generan el mundo comercial, económico y financiero. Nosotros también tenemos que tener una agenda para poder discutir en el máximo del poder global como para encontrar un mundo y una situación diferente a la que estamos padeciendo trabajadoras y trabajadores. Por eso apuesto la inteligencia y la capacidad que tiene este sindicalismo para trazar una nueva historia con un contrato social diferente, donde el trabajador, la trabajadora, la sociedad civil sean protagonistas de un mundo mejor. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Gerardo. I now invite Manali Shah from Siwa, India.
Namaste, brothers and sisters. In a new social contract, the informal economy found its due space. However, I want to highlight that within the informal economy, home-based workers, and especially women home-based workers, find themselves in huge number and extreme disadvantage. In an ILO study conducted in year 2019, there were over 260 million home-based workers around the world, and this number almost doubled during the pandemic. It represents 7.9% of the global employment. As per a study on the impact of COVID-19, within informal economy, home-based workers were the worst affected and are still finding it difficult to recover. Their supply chains have been disrupted, leading to irregular work and income, which is as low as 2% of the pre-COVID earnings. Home-based workers work from in and around their homes. They live in a home not bigger than 10 feet by 10 feet, where they live, take care of their families, cook, work, and store not only their personal belongings, but also their work equipment. A lot of these homes are lack of basic services and have to use shared toilets and water. For many home-based workers, this is a family work, where most of family members, including children, have a part to play in economy, especially for the women home-based workers who are impacted by patriarchy, whose shared unfair burden of care work are not allowed to work outside their homes. Home-based work is the only remunerative work that they have access to. With the adverse impact of COVID-19 and slow recovery, women home-based workers are the worst affected category of the workers and face threat of unemployment and lack of decent work. It has been 26 years of ILO Convention 177, and even today we only have 13 countries who have ratified the convention, and none of the developing countries with large population of home-based workers have ratified ILO Convention 177. We face a serious crisis of lack of legal protection for home-based workers. At SEVA, we have been organizing home-based workers at local and national level for 50 years. We urge ITUC to adopt a global 12x12 campaign on ratification of ILO Convention 177 in 12 months in 12 countries. Women home-based workers around the world are in a state of despair and have a sense of urgency. We need to get together for this vulnerable category of workers who are only going to increase in near future. However, it is up to us if we can ensure decent work for them or not. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Papolo, UIL Italy, to come to the podium. Thank you.
Grazie Presidente. Nei 3 minuti che ci sono stati concessi dirò innanzitutto che siamo d'accordo con il documento congressuale. Vorrei velocemente porre 3 temi che sono secondo noi importanti. Il primo, da qui vogliamo far sentire la nostra solidarietà, la nostra vicinanza a chi in questo momento non è qui con noi perché rischia il carcere e la vita in paesi che sono oppressi per difendere i diritti dei lavoratori e delle lavoratrici. Agli uomini e alle donne che dalla Bielorussia al Myanmar combattono per i diritti, per la autodeterminazione dei popoli, agli amici palestinesi esprimiamo vicinanza e un caloroso abbraccio. Vorremmo dire e vorremmo sentire parlare ancora di più degli uomini e delle donne dell'Iran che in questo momento combattono per la loro libertà e qui forse ne abbiamo parlato poco. Esprimiamo la vicinanza ai nostri colleghi dell'Ucraina, ricordando che per noi, nella famiglia delle ACSI, non ci possono essere organizzazioni sindacali che giustificano la guerra e l'invasione della Russia in Ucraina. Bisogna essere coerenti con la solidarietà espressa ai sindacati ucraini. E allora noi dobbiamo porre 2 temi, e sono le 2 riflessioni che vorrei porre qui. Primo, come affrontiamo il futuro? Serve una nuova globalizzazione che rispetti la qualità del lavoro, la qualità della vita, la giustizia sociale. E da qui forse noi oggi dovremmo interrogarci di più su come aiutiamo i paesi e i continenti più poveri, in via di sviluppo, i paesi che spesso sono stati depredati delle proprie ricchezze e delle proprie risorse. Noi dobbiamo affrontare la transizione climatica e nessuno deve rimanere indietro. Dobbiamo rivendicare una transizione sociale, giusta, con un nuovo modello di sviluppo che rispetti la persona, il lavoro, la libertà, la qualità della vita. Serve coraggio per limitare lo strapotere delle multinazionali che violano costantemente contratti e diritti, per ridurre il potere di tutti quelli che con le speculazioni finanziarie mortificano il lavoro e i diritti. E infine, serve coraggio per rivendicare più diritti e meno diseguaglianza. E noi dobbiamo farlo con più determinazione ai potenti del mondo, al Fondo Monetario Internazionale, alla Banca Mondiale, al G7, al G20. Serve rivendicare, non accomodarsi a quei tavoli e stare in silenzio. Serve un futuro fatto di rispetto delle persone, di giustizia sociale, di rispetto dei diritti. Questo noi ci aspettiamo dal nuovo gruppo dirigente e dal nuovo segretario generale. Buon lavoro e buona lotta.
Thank you, Papolo, thank you. I now invite Martha Molima from Botswana. Martha Molima from Botswana. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Director of this morning's proceedings. May you please allow me to proceed on the established and observed protocol and to convey solidarity greetings from Botswana Federation of Trade Unions to all of you brothers and sisters here gathered. Viva comrades, viva. Viva workers, viva.
Viva.
Viva brothers and sisters, viva.
Viva.
Brothers and sisters, in line with the Congress statement, I am here not to lament, but to appeal and to call for action in one voice, unity and one accord, as the labor movement, including comrades from the Gulf region, against the inhuman treatment of our brothers and sisters, the migrant workers, who go to seek for greener pastures in the Gulf region. It would be hypocrisy and condonation of injustice if we could turn a blind eye and not talk about this cruelty on our fellow workers. Our African brothers and sisters are treated as less human beings by their employers in the Gulf region. Just recently, we have seen a video of a lady from Africa who left home a few months after giving birth. For that reason, she was forced to breastfeed puppies in Saudi Arabia. Allow me to say the name of the country, Saudi Arabia. And I know our comrades from Saudi Arabia are here, and they are going to engage their government to change these ways of doing things. The poor young woman was crying because of the pain, the cruelty, and humiliation she suffers at the hands of the employer. And as women, we know the trauma she will live with for the rest of her life. One wonders what would have happened to her if she had refused. One wonders what other brutalities do our brothers and sisters experience or suffer at the hands of their employers. She was forced to become a dog, to breastfeed put bills, which will later be set on her to eat her alive. One wonders again how many have died at the hands of such employers. Are the meager wages they earn there worth their deaths and suffering? No, they are not. When screening nations for events such as hosting World Cups, brothers and sisters, I would like to suggest that, as it was the case with Qatar, ITUC and other influential global actors should as well screen participating nations and also campaign for those nations which do not care about violating human rights until they mend their ways. ITUC should continue to take a lead in condemning such cruelty on migrant workers and even come up with punitive measures to deal with countries which still treat people like slaves and with cruelty. The Qatari government changed its ways for the better, if not best. Therefore, all other countries in the Gulf region should follow suit, with comrades for the Gulf region, from the Gulf region herein leading at the forefront. I thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Sister Martha, thank you. I now invite Abdul Karim from GFBTU Bahrain. Abdul Karim, GFBTU Bahrain. Rick Hilt, Union Norway should be ready if he's not available. Thank you.
Chair, first I want to acknowledge the owner of the land and tell you that the question of indigenous people, in our case, Sami people, is very current in Norway, my home country. And I'm happy that Norway has ratified Convention 169. But we are still waiting for Truth and Reconciliation Commission's report. Dear sisters and brothers, when discussing equal pay, we often hear people saying things like, if salary was important for you, you should have chosen another job. But what would everyday life look like if the nurses, teachers, and other public service workers follow this advice? The pandemic showed with all possible clarity the importance of public sector workers and care workers in particular. Women are in majority in those groups. We experience that the work done by female-dominated groups is undervalued. The Congress statement says that systematic undervaluing of women's work remains a problem across the world. I'm happy that we, as a global movement, will work to change this. Equality is about very simple, basic requirements. It is about self-determination, about freedom from discrimination, and about equal rights to equal participation in society. This again leads us up to the importance of education for all as a prerequisite for equality. Investment in education is the most important factor when it comes to participating in working life, in social life, and taking part in society, and the most important investment to attain gender equality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, thank you. I now invite Antonio Lisboa, CUT Brazil. Lisboa, CUT Brazil. And Poitra from Poland should be on standby. Okay. Poitra.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. The draft Congress statement devotes a lot of space to climate issues. Yes, we agree that there are no decent jobs on a dead planet. However, this is a difficult topic for Poland, also for Polish trade unions, and in particular for trade unions in the mining and energy sectors. For Poland, which economy and energy system are heavily dependent on coal, for its people, its workers, and their families, a transition towards a green economy could mean job losses, poverty, and social exclusion. In Poland, people do not associate the expression of transition in a positive way. The rapid changes which took the form of neoliberal shock therapy in the early 1990s led to a rapid increase in unemployment, poverty, and social exclusion. They also had a significant impact on the marginalization of trade unions. Thus, for many people in Poland, the phrase transformation or transition has negative connotations. Their fears about jobs, about the future of their families, also about the energy prices are therefore justified. This is particularly important now, when the inflation and energy prices are very high and we are threatened with a mass energy poverty. In this sense, in this extraordinary moment, in the context of the war in Ukraine and Putin's energy blackmail, we cannot agree on the provision in paragraph 20.11 on ending government subsidies to fossil fuels. In our opinion, they should be at least temporarily kept. The ITUC must therefore clearly reassure workers in countries like Poland that any change on this issue will not have a negative impact on their employment and living standards. We cannot allow the transition costs to be borne by the workers only, likewise in 1990s. Otherwise, workers will turn out of the trade unions, what may be also used by the radical right. We cannot leave workers alone. We cannot fail it. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, brother. I now invite Ali Ahmed, GFWTU Yemen.
صباح الخير جميعا. الأخوة والأخوات، لقد أتيت من بلد اليمن أحمل الكثير والكثير من الألم الذي يتعرض له عمال اليمن وشعب اليمن. نعيش أوضاع صعبة ومعقدة وانتهاكات صارخة للحقوق والحريات النقابية والحريات العامة. مدركين الأوضاع التي يعيشها العالم، ونحن جزء من هذا العالم، ونجدها فرصة أن نشارك همومنا وطموحاتنا وتطلعاتنا للمستقبل مع رفاق العمل النقابي، مدركين كل التحديات الكبيرة التي تواجهنا والأوضاع الصعبة التي نعيشها سواء على المستوى البلد أو على المستوى الدولي. ولا زلنا نعاني من تداعيات جائحة كورونا وتأثيرها على الاقتصاد العالمي وعلى العمال والوظائف، ولا زالت قائمة، بل تفاقمت الأزمات الاقتصادية والاجتماعية نتيجة للحروب والبطالة وارتفاع معدلات الفقر والكوارث الطبيعية الناتجة عن التغيرات المناخية. كل ذلك يستدعي تكاتف الجهود للحد من آثارها المدمرة من خلال عقد اجتماعي يراعي مصالح البشرية ويحقق العدالة والحرية والديمقراطية والسلم الاجتماعي. وأنني أؤيد البيان الصادر عن المؤتمر وأقف معه، وأتمنى أن نرى عالماً خالياً من الحروب والكوارث. الأخوة والأخوات، إن بلد اليمن تمر بمرحلة صعبة نتيجة الحرب والصراعات السياسية والطائفية والمناطقية. انهارت المؤسسات الصحية والتعليمية والخدمات العامة، وغابت العدالة الاجتماعية، وانهارت العملة الوطنية، وارتفعت الأسعار وتوقفت الرواتب، وفقدت الوظائف وأزقت الأرواح وسفكت الدماء، ومزق النسيج الاجتماعي وعجز العمال عن مواجهة احتياجات أسرهم الضرورية. إضافة إلى ذلك، تتعرض كثير من المؤسسات التأمينية للتدمير والفساد. كل تلك القضايا تم مناقشتها من قبل الاتحاد مع الحكومة، ولكن لم نجد أي حلول. وخلاصة القول أنني أطالب الاتحاد الدولي ومنظمة العمل الدولية لبذل جهودهم، ونقترح أن تدعو منظمة العمل الدولية إلى لقاء الحكومة والاتحاد العام نقابة عمال اليمن ومشاركة الاتحاد الدولي النقابات، تطرح القضايا وتبحث الحلول، وكل ثقة أن تستجاب هذه المقترح وننهي معاناة ملايين اليمنيين. أتمنى للمؤتمر التوفيق والنجاح وتحقيق تطلعات وآمال العمال، وأتمنى للأخوة والأخوات السلامة. السلام عليكم. شكرا.
Thank you, Ahmed. I now invite John Jairo from CTC Colombia to come to the podium. Thank you.
Buenos días, compañeros y compañeras. Agradecidos con Australia como nos ha acogido. Nuestro reconocimiento como CTC Colombia a la CCI por esa ardua labor y noble labor con los trabajadores y trabajadoras del mundo. En Colombia hoy tenemos la esperanza de un gobierno alternativo, esperanza por toda esa trayectoria del movimiento sindical en su historia, que nos han arrebatado nuestros derechos sociales, económicos, sindicales, de libertad sindical y negociación colectiva. Hoy las tres centrales sindicales unificadas le hemos presentado al Gobierno Nacional una propuesta para desarrollar el nuevo Estatuto del Trabajo. Un Estatuto del Trabajo que queremos convertirlo en una ley orgánica, en un nuevo Código Sustantivo del Trabajo que conlleve a reivindicar los derechos que hemos perdido durante décadas. Tenemos la esperanza que esa política antisindical que tenemos en Colombia se revierta y que ese índice de sindicalización tan bajo que hoy tenemos podamos reforzarlo. Nuestro apoyo incondicional al nuevo contrato social, y le vamos a apostar a eso como Central Obrera, a que esta reivindicación sea consolidada en el futuro. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I now invite Serena, CGILL, Italy.
Compagni e compagni, colleghe e colleghi, il Congresso promuove un nuovo contratto sociale. Un pilastro di questa strategia deve essere la difesa del valore sociale dei servizi pubblici, a partire dalla salute. La salute non è solo l'organizzazione del servizio sanitario, è molto di più. Riguarda il benessere delle persone, delle comunità, dell'ambiente. Transizione giusta ed equa deve voler dire governare i grandi cambiamenti demografici, climatici e tecnologici, mettendo in sicurezza le persone. La salute non è e non può essere una merce globale. Non può essere il mercato a scegliere chi vive e chi no, come è successo nella pandemia. Le politiche pubbliche devono cambiare il loro orientamento, investendo nei servizi pubblici e contrastando le speculazioni delle multinazionali. Il Covid-19 e la pandemia che ne è conseguita sono stati soltanto il sintomo di una patologia più forte, che è la debolezza e la scarsa resilienza dei sistemi di protezione sociale nel mondo. I sistemi di protezione sociale sono sotto attacco da anni, dalle politiche di austerità, dalle privatizzazioni, dalle speculazioni delle multinazionali. Ci vuole un cambiamento radicale. Lo dobbiamo alle future generazioni, che vedono accorciarsi sempre di più l'aspettativa di vita, alle persone più fragili, agli anziani, ai non autosufficienti, alle persone disabili, a chi soffre di salute mentale. Lo dobbiamo alle donne. Dobbiamo occuparci della salute delle lavoratrici, ma dobbiamo occuparci soprattutto del diritto delle donne a vedere la maternità tutelata come un diritto consapevole. Lo dobbiamo soprattutto a quei 180.000 operatori sanitari che sono morti durante la pandemia per salvare le nostre vite. Il mercato del lavoro dei servizi pubblici è sempre di più globale e internazionale deve essere la nostra strategia sindacale. Rafforzare la contrattazione collettiva nel settore della sanità e dell'assistenza, garantire salari dignitosi, orari adeguati e soprattutto le 11 ore di riposo tra un turno e l'altro, contrastare la violenza nei confronti degli operatori, tutelare la salute e sicurezza nei luoghi di lavoro e soprattutto l'insorgere di nuove malattie professionali, lavorare per approfondire e diffondere sempre di più la ricerca pubblica in campo sanitario, governare la digitalizzazione dei processi anche nella medicina digitale, contrastare ogni forma di precarietà. Salute deve essere dichiarata bene comune universale, tutelata dal servizio pubblico. È l'unica strategia che ci consente una seria lotta alle discriminazioni e alle disuguaglianze. È l'unica strategia per garantire un'esistenza libera e dignitosa alle persone. È l'unica strategia che ci consente di difendere la democrazia e la giustizia sociale. Economia della cura, diritti della persona, del lavoro, pace e disarmo. In una parola, benessere. Chi cura le vite rifiuta la guerra, che è la sospensione dello Stato di diritto, delle libertà, del valore della stessa vita. E come ci ricorda Jean-Paul Sartre, quando i ricchi fanno la guerra sono i poveri che muoiono e i poveri sono le lavoratrici e i lavoratori che rappresentiamo noi tutti. Viva il sindacato internazionale.
Thank you, Serena, thank you. I now invite John from CTSP Haiti. John Bonald, CTSP Haiti.
Bonjour, chers camarades. Nous sommes heureux aujourd'hui de parler au nom des travailleurs et travailleuses d'Haïti. Nous remercions la camarade Sharon Barrow et toute l'équipe de la CSI pour ce travail aussi important dans une organisation aussi diversifiée pour la représentation des travailleurs à travers le monde. Nous vivons une situation extrêmement difficile et compliquée en Haïti, un pays où la violence est la règle aujourd'hui. La vie n'a aucun sens. Le travail est précaire alors qu'on fait la promotion pour le travail décent. Heureusement, nous avons aujourd'hui une lueur d'espoir à travers ce qui se passe au niveau de notre région. Ce qui se passe, par exemple, au Chili avec l'élection du président Boric, au Brésil, en Colombie, ce sont des éléments où les travailleurs peuvent compter sur eux. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes en train de parler sur un nouveau contrat social. Le nouveau contrat social est un élément extrêmement important et la CSI, comme organisation internationale de travailleurs et travailleuses, a un rôle extrêmement important à jouer. Toutefois, nous pouvons adopter cette déclaration, mais si au niveau même de l'OIT, nous ne mettons pas en œuvre cette déclaration, ce serait extrêmement difficile. En 1919, à travers le traité de Versailles, on avait mis en place l'Organisation internationale du travail. Cette organisation, à travers ses buts et principes, donne aux travailleurs une voix pour défendre leurs droits. Cependant, entre la CSI sur le plan formel et la CSI sur le terrain, nous voyons en Haïti un monde de différence. Entre l'OIT sur le terrain et l'OIT sur le plan formel, c'est un monde de différence. Car l'OIT en Haïti marche totalement en porte-à-faux avec les valeurs qui sont inscrites dans ses buts et principes et les valeurs dans des diverses déclarations et dans sa constitution. Nous voulons des nouveaux dirigeants de la CSI de veiller à ce que les travaux de l'OIT sur le terrain soient compatibles avec la déclaration sur le centenaire, avec la déclaration de Philadelphie, avec la Constitution. Nous critiquons les organisations de Bretton Woods, le FMI, la Banque mondiale. Nous ne sommes pas d'accord avec eux, alors que l'Organisation internationale du travail, l'organisation à travers laquelle les travailleurs sont représentés, fonctionne sur le terrain de la même manière que le Fonds monétaire international et la Banque mondiale. Nous voulons une participation réelle et non pas seulement une forme de représentation.
Thank you.
Cette représentation de l'OIT doit être sur le terrain une représentation où la volonté des travailleurs et la volonté de la classe laborieuse soient passées. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, John. Is Avita now available, or we can give the slot to somebody? Let me then invite John from CUT Honduras, if Avita is not ready. Joel from CUT Honduras. Are you ready? Or we can go to Sata from Azerbaijan.
Дорогие друзья, братья и сестры, от имени профсоюза Азербайджана сердечно приветствую участников 5-го съезда и желаю успехов в нашей работе. Тема сегодняшнего съезда имеет особое значение для современного мира, а также актуальна для нашего региона и республики. Прежде всего, мир – это ценность, необходимая человечеству, призыв к спокойствию и мирной жизни. Азербайджан на протяжении 30 лет испытывал последствия войны и оккупации своих земель. Столкнулся с проблемой беженцев и теперь использует все возможности для обеспечения мира и спокойствия в регионе. Я призываю всех, независимо от возраста, расы, национальности, религии, языка или пола, а также всех государств мира быть приверженными миру. Хотел бы отметить, что как и в других странах, так и в Азербайджане цель устойчивого развития является приоритетным. Азербайджан стал первой страной на Южном Кавказе СНГ, который представил 3 добровольных национальных отчета в ООН. Международная организация труда выбрала нашу организацию как одну из приоритетных стран за проделенную работу в области целей устойчивого развития. Конфедерация профсоюзов Азербайджана, в свою очередь, 28 июня 2019 года представили добровольный отчет профсоюзов о целях устойчивого развития. Сегодня Азербайджан вступает в новый послевоенный и постпандемический период. Принимая обдуманные и взвешенные решения, Азербайджан делает выход из глобальных кризисов, в том числе с минимальными потерями от пандемии, определили конкретные программы социально-экономические проекты. Дорогие друзья, с сожалением должен сказать, что сегодня в некоторых странах правительство, работодатели под предлогом выхода из кризиса пытаются изменить форму трудовых отношений и свести к минимуму успехи, достигнутые профсоюзом за последние годы в организации защиты наемных работников. Все это может оставить свой отпечаток на реализацию поставленных целей. Мы высоко ценим то, что МКП ставит в центр внимания основные проблемы мировой экономики и сохранение позиции профсоюза как равноправных партнеров в трехсторонних отношениях. Нам, как профсоюзам, необходимо совершенствовать нашу деятельность с социальными партнерами, использовать мировой опыт, и мы надеемся, что МКП окажет нам помощь в этом направлении и приложит все усилия для достижения поставленных целей. Еще раз желаю успехов в работе нашего съезда. Благодарю вас.
Thank you, Sata. Thank you. I now invite Luis Francisco Cut Colombia to come to the podium. Luis Francisco Cut Colombia and Christine Reina, FGTB Belgium, should be on standby.
Buenas tardes a todos los compañeros y compañeras que nos acompañan en este 5º Congreso de la CCI. Desde la CUT Colombia, nosotros apoyamos las luchas de todos los pueblos originarios en su lucha por la tierra y sus valores ancestrales. En segunda instancia, queremos informarles que este año desarrollo de las luchas sociales que hemos librado en Colombia, tenemos un nuevo gobierno de centro-izquierda, cuyos ejes centrales son la lucha por la paz, la justicia social y la lucha ambiental. En tercera instancia, consideramos que las luchas que se libran hoy en diferentes partes del mundo, las guerras que se libran en diferentes partes del mundo, obedecen a una puja entre las superpotencias mundiales por acceder a los mercados, a los recursos naturales y estratégicos. Y quienes pagamos las consecuencias de estas guerras, sin duda, somos los ciudadanos y los trabajadores y trabajadoras. Por ejemplo, hoy en Europa están pagando el gas 7 veces más caro que antes que la guerra, antes de darse la guerra en Ucrania. Desde la CUT Colombia condenamos esta agresión económica, al igual que las agresiones militares de Estados Unidos y la OTAN en diferentes partes del mundo. Creemos que la CCI no se puede sumar a uno de los dos bandos en esta guerra fratricida que se da y que debe llamar al diálogo y a la negociación como un mecanismo de solución de este conflicto. En esta coyuntura política creemos que la CCI debe defender la autodeterminación de los pueblos, el cumplimiento de los acuerdos, los pactos que se dieron después de la disolución de la Unión Soviética. También se debe defender la soberanía de las naciones frente a cualquier interferencia extranjera. Se debe propugnar por la eliminación de las bases militares que hay en diferentes partes del mundo. Queremos una CCI más del lado de los trabajadores y de las trabajadoras, que se comprometa con la movilización social mundial contra la banca internacional, contra los organismos financieros internacionales, una CCI más militante en defensa de los derechos de los y las trabajadoras del mundo. Y desde esa perspectiva consideramos que quien mejor puede hacer esta tarea en la Secretaría General es nuestro compañero Osman Kemal. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Luis, thank you. I now invite Christine Reina, FGTB Belgium, to come to the podium. And Julio Cesar from CUT Peru should be on standby.
Dear comrades, I stand here today to plead in behalf of the public services, who are in most countries, including mine, under attack. Right-wing politicians intended to destroy public services. In their opinion, they are too expensive, they are not efficient enough, not flexible enough, and they disrupt the private market. Those arguments, comrades, we hear too often. They tell people that the private sector is the only one to create benefits and prosperity for the economy. Comrades, they are wrong. They don't care about the well-being of the people, neither of the workers. They only care about money. The public services and its workers, in my country, like teachers, bus drivers, railway workers, postmen, people in the administration, in healthcare, in the social sector, firemen and women, security people, they all do contribute to a society that is more just and equal. A society not based only on profits, but a society which provides services who are essential and necessary for the well-being of the citizens and the workers. Every crisis, like the financial one, the pandemic, climate-related catastrophes, you can count on us. You can count on the public services to stand strong and help the people. So it's clear that we need a strong structural funding based on a fair tax system. Even in my country, in Belgium, that is not the case. We have to fight every day, every single day, for strong public services, financed on a structural basis with enough people to do the job. Every day we fight against privatization and liberalization. Every day we fight to provide good services, affordable and accessible to everyone. We strongly believe that our public services and our social security system are the foundation on a more just and democratic society. A society where every single one is equally treated. A society where no one is left behind. Dear comrades, we fight every day for a cause worth fighting for a noble cause. I am very pleased we are all joined together in this combat. Together, we stand strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you. Thank you. I now invite Julio Cesar, CUT Peru, to come to the podium. Julio Cesar, CUT Peru. If he's not available, John Peters, CNV, Netherlands, should please come to the podium.
Dear colleagues and friends, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak. And of course, I would like to start by thanking the entire ITUC leadership, and in particularly Sharon and her team, for the amazing work over the past years. Also, a very warm thank you to our Australian colleagues for the hospitality you are showing us here this week. The draft Congress statement rightfully stresses the need at this particular moment in time for a new social contract and for strong labor unions. The amount of challenges we as working people are facing is immense, sometimes up to the point where they can feel overwhelming. But we cannot waver in our struggle for a just society for all. It is our responsibility as unions and as union leaders to chart a hopeful course forward. And we are happy to see that the draft document does exactly that. On behalf of CNV, I would like to share a few points in regards to the green transition. It is important to take a multi-level approach to make sure that the transition is indeed realized and that it is just. This means action at company and sectoral level, at national level, and very much at the international level as well. Two things are especially important to us. We should focus on active labor market policies and should be actively involved in this as unions. The focus on lifelong learning should be further increased. We need to make sure that people can transition easily from one decent job to the next, finding us as trade unions by their side to support and help guide them to be ready for the jobs of the future, and by making sure companies make the transition with full involvement of their workers and by investing in their skills. The second point that is important is that we need to organize more solidarity in our global supply chains. All too often, workers who, for example, are mining the minerals that are needed for our solar panels, windmills, or electric cars are working under perilous and unjust circumstances. Freedom of association and collective bargaining is too often not respected. We cannot ask our companies to just live up to labor standards in our own country, yet not respect them abroad. And we urge our governments to take more responsibility in this. Human rights due diligence will help workers across the world, and we need to take strong steps on this in the coming years. As CNV, we are hosting a side event on Sunday evening that also focuses on the multi-level approach, and I invite you all warmly to attend to share ideas together. In closing, it is up to us to carry the ideas we discuss here these days into action in the coming years for a sustainable and for a just future. There is much work to be done, and we will do it, and we will do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Peters. I now invite Daily Isbeth from CTRP Panama to come to the podium.
Buenos días. Desde la Confederación de Trabajadores de la República de Panamá, expresar un fraternal saludos a todos y todas las participantes de este 5º Congreso de la CCI. Hay mucho que decir en este Congreso, pero me centraré en el título, un nuevo contrato social. Si hablamos de un nuevo contrato social, es hablar del compromiso que debemos asumir todos y todas, todo el movimiento sindical, todos los trabajadores. Y en este contexto que estamos viviendo, en un contexto que en gran parte de las tareas se está digitalizando, donde el tema de la comunicación se han convertido en una herramienta estratégica para mantener el vínculo con los y los trabajadores, con la dirigencia sindical, y en este nuevo contrato social debe ir dirigido a esto, a fortalecer estas capacidades de interlocución, a la construcción de consensos verdaderos, a la construcción de fraternas alianzas y también teniendo en cuenta el ser humano en el centro. La construcción de un proyecto social político sindical que conlleve un alto contenido en defensa de los derechos de los y las trabajadoras. También tenemos que tener en cuenta la defensa de los trabajadores y esta etapa intergeneracional, hablando de la participación de los jóvenes, hablando de la participación de las mujeres, ese vínculo intergeneracional de una verdadera dignidad en la diversidad. Este contrato social tiene que ser un verdadero compromiso de construcción de un nuevo proyecto que permita la representatividad y la verdadera participación en la vida social. El mundo está cambiando y nosotros tenemos que ir en avanzada por una verdadera justicia social. Tenemos que tener incidencia en este nuevo contrato social para que tengamos todos y todas una vida digna y fortalecer los derechos de los trabajadores, fortalecer los derechos del movimiento sindical nacional, fortalecer los derechos del movimiento sindical regional y fortalecer los derechos de los sindicatos a nivel internacional. Así que de mi parte yo solicito a todos los que estamos en esta sala que nos pongamos de pies y todos digamos 3 veces lo siguiente. Hagamos sentir que estamos en un congreso, en el 5º congreso de la CCI. Así que, compañeros, los invito a que levantemos y todos digamos, juntos y juntas somos más fuertes. 3 veces. Juntos y juntas somos más fuertes. Juntos y juntas somos más fuertes. Juntos y juntas somos más fuertes. Que nos hagamos sentir compañeros y compañeras. Gracias.
Thank you. I now invite Lizzie from YS Norway to come to the podium.
Thank you, and dear brothers, sisters, Congress, and trade union friends. The trade union movement is built on the shoulders of hard-working men and women, and the desire for a better working conditions and a brighter future for the next generation, yes, our children, children's, and so on. There are approximately 3.3 billion workers in the world. We are their movement and their voice. New technology has the power to radically change all aspects of work life. This represents tremendous opportunities, but it's also a two-edged issue. Changes in the world like life creates opportunities for billions of workers worldwide. Technology has the power to radically change all aspects of work life for the better. On the other hand, it has the potential to freeze out millions of workers who don't get the necessary training out of work. So, dear colleagues, lifelong learning is essential for everyone. The opportunities for lifelong learning is one of the most, or well, at least one of the important things we can do to deal with work-life changes in general. In the light of this, I want to emphasize the challenge our healthcare system are facing. In 2020, the European Commission published an annual report of skill shortages and surpluses in Europe. The report states that there is a shortage of healthcare workers in all areas in the field. This is also the case for a big part of the world. for all of us. There is no quick fix for this problem. An important first step is by working for 1, full-time jobs in the sectors, 2, fair pay, 3, skill programs, and 4, task substitutes, and 5, skill mixing. The future healthcare sector should aim at getting more advanced, and the path is paved with social dialogue and making sure that our essential workers are the world's most essential priority. Our fight for fair, just transition starts with better skills programs. That's why the ITUC must keep on and pushing on for better skill programs for workers all over the world. Are we ready to go to work for better skill programs for workers all over the world? Are we? Are we?
Yes.
Yes. Brothers and sisters, let's keep up the work on this important issue. The workers depend on us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. I now invite Yusuf Ali, SW3F Sudan. They are our new affiliates. They were only affiliated during the last General Council meeting.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بدءا لابد أن نشكر الأخوة في اتحاد عمال أستراليا لاستضافة هذا المؤتمر واستضافتنا في هذه الأرض الطيبة، أرض أستراليا وأرض مارليبورن. والتحية للITUC الذي وقف معنا بقوة رغم أننا لم نكن أعضاء فيه. تعرضنا لظلم كبير في اتحاد نقابات عمال السودان. تم حل الاتحاد بواسطة الحكومة وتم تشريدنا ومصادرة ممتلكاتنا وقفل حساباتنا، وطلبوا منا أن نسلم النقابات إلى نقابات ولجان حكومية معينة بواسطة الحكومة. رفضنا ذلك وتم مطاردتنا وأوامر بالقبض علينا وتم اعتقالنا وسجننا. تم سجن النساء وتم سجن الرجال، ولكن وجدنا الITUC يقف معنا بقوة، والخطابات التي أصدرتها شارون برو في حق النقابيات والنقابيين الذين تم سجنهم كان لها أثر كبير جدا في فك اعتقال وخروج هؤلاء النساء النقابيات من السجن. فالشكر للأخت شارون برو والأخوة ديالو والإخوة في الITUC أفرو وفي كل الأقطار وكل النقابات في أفريقيا وفي الوطن العربي قد دعمونا دعم كبير وتضامنوا معنا تضامنا كبيرا جدا. نحن عرفنا معنى التضامن في هذه الأزمة التي مررنا بها، لذلك إن شاء الله سوف نتضامن مع كل عمال العالم، وكذلك طلبنا مباشرة الانضمام لهذا الاتحاد العظيم، هذا الاتحاد القوي الITUC، وإن شاء الله سوف نظل جنود مخلصين في هذا الاتحاد، وإن شاء الله نعمل معكم في سبيل هذا العقد الاجتماعي الجديد. دمتم ودامت الحركة النقابية العالمية ودام الITUC، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Yusuf. I think we'll be able to take two more speakers before we close this session. Let me then invite Jose Maria, UGT Spain, to come to the podium. And then Young from KCTU Korea should be on standby. Jose Maria, UGT Spain. Are you ready? Good.
Buenos días, compañeras, compañeros. Quiero, en primer lugar, agradecer a Sharon estos 4 años al frente de la Confederación Sindical Internacional. Salimos de Noruega, estamos en Australia, en Melbourne, en una situación francamente buena gracias a la gestión que han realizado durante este tiempo. Gracias, Sharon, por tanto trabajo. No podíamos escoger un lema mejor para nuestro Congreso. Un nuevo contrato social y medioambiental que sea capaz de aprovechar esta gran oportunidad de crisis internacional en la que estamos para poder construir un mundo en mejores condiciones para los trabajadores y las trabajadoras del planeta. Es evidente que la globalización, tal y como la diseñaron los grandes capitales, ha fracasado de manera estrepitosa. Hoy todos sabemos que el mundo no se puede construir solo a partir de los intereses de las grandes multinacionales, solo a partir de los intereses de los capitales. Por eso, el sindicalismo internacional tiene una gran oportunidad y en ese sentido van las resoluciones que se proponen para este Congreso para situar las bases del futuro. En primer lugar, un futuro que tiene que ser verde, que tiene que ser medioambientalmente respetuoso con el planeta. La globalización ha destruido en buena parte el medio ambiente del planeta. Un futuro que tiene que ser construido a partir de las personas y para las personas, no un futuro de los capitales y para los capitales. Por eso, la igualdad entre hombres y mujeres, la igualdad entre diferentes, entre los que no pensamos igual, entre los que nos relacionamos sexualmente de una manera o de otra manera, entre los que tenemos la piel de un color y los que tenemos la piel de otra, pero partiendo de la igualdad de derechos. Estos son los retos fundamentales que tiene hoy el sindicalismo internacional y que pasan por luchar por los derechos en todos y cada uno de los rincones del planeta. Hay que luchar por los derechos de huelga, por la libertad para poder afiliarse sindicalmente, en definitiva, por la libertad de los pueblos de todo el planeta. Muchísimas gracias, compañeros y compañeras.
Thank you, Brother Jose Maria. Thank you. I now invite, last but not the least for today's session, Young from KCTU, Republic of Korea.
반갑습니다. 먼저 이 자리를 빌려 감사 인사를 드립니다. 지난해 팬데믹 시기 노동자들의 요구를 더 큰 목소리로 전달하기 위해 집회를 개최했다는 이유로 수감되어 있을 당시 여러분들의 국제적인 연대가 큰 힘이 되었습니다. 고맙습니다. 국제인권기준과 국제노동기준이 보장하는 권리를 행사했다는 이유로 수감된 홍콩 노총의 캐롤 응, 리챙냔, 벨라루스의 알렉산드르 야스쿠슈 동지들도 하루빨리 석방될 수 있도록 함께 연대합시다. 어제 오늘 많은 동지들이 불평등, 기후위기, 전쟁, 에너지와 식량위기, 인플레이션 압박과 소득 감소 등 전 세계 노동자들이 직면한 다차원적 위기가 각국에서 어떻게 전개되고 있는지 생생하게 증언해 주었습니다. 많은 발언에서 새로운 사회계약이 시급하게 필요하다는 점을 확인할 수 있었습니다. 제가 강조하고 싶은 것은 새로운 사회계약을 어떻게 실현할 것인가입니다. 총회문서 초안은 새로운 사회계약을 조직된 노동의 힘을 통해 쟁취할 수 있다고 제시하고 있습니다. 민주노총은 이미 이것을 실천하고 있습니다. 지난 11월 12일 민주노총 전국 노동자 대회에 모인 10만 명의 노동자들은 이대로는 살 수 없다며 새로운 사회계약의 주요 내용인 모든 노동자의 노조할 권리, 돌봄 공공성 강화, 공공서비스 민영화 중단 등을 거리에서 함께 외쳤습니다. 특히 계약관계나 고용상 지위와 상관없이 모든 노동자가 단결하고 진짜 사장과 교섭할 수 있도록 노조법 2조상의 사용자, 노동자 정의의 확대 등의 법 개정을 요구했습니다. 총회문서는 또한 새로운 사회계약을 쟁취하기 위해서는 세계 경제의 근본적인 전환이 필요하다고 강조하고 있습니다. 바로 이런 고민 속에서 민주노총은 지난 9월 국제포럼을 개최했습니다. 15개국 노동조합 활동가들과 함께 기후정의 실현과 체제전환을 위한 전 지구적 연대 조직화에 나설 것을 결의했습니다. 기술 변화와 기후 변화가 자본을 위한 새로운 이윤 창출의 기회가 되지 않도록 노동의 역량 강화와 주도적 참여를 통해 공공성과 민중의 기본권 보장이 실현되는 공공 중심의 정의로운 전환을 위해 앞장설 것을 결의했습니다. 그렇다면 새로운 사회개혁을 실현하기 위한 국제노총의 과제는 더욱 분명해집니다. 홍콩, 미얀마, 필리핀을 포함한 전 세계 모든 노동자들이 고용상 지위에 상관없이 아무런 두려움 없이 노동 기본권을 행사할 수 있도록 연대를 조직해야 합니다. 전 세계 노동자들이 단결하여 조직된 노동의 힘을 발휘할 수 있도록 글로벌 자본의 연대보다 훨씬 더 강력한 노동자 국제연대를 조직하고 체제 전환을 주도하는 조직으로 거듭나야 합니다. 이것을 실현하는 것이 새로 선출된 사무총장과 함께 국제노총 모든 가맹 조직의 과제입니다. 함께 투쟁합시다. 투쟁!
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me also thank all colleagues that have been able to take the floor today. And I think a lot of contributions have come in to try to strengthen our organization, but importantly also to strengthen the Congress priorities. Let me now invite our General Secretary, Sharon, to respond to the various issues that have been raised by the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues, and another great morning of contributions. Indeed, the reinforcement of the Congress statement and the call for a new social contract covered areas from climate transition, jobs, reskilling, just transition demands, to the power of capital and how we must address the threat or allow it to be unfettered. The question of war, of course, and conflict is a continuing theme, but there was a call for the war on democracy to be recognised and our need to respond to that, to shore up the fundamental base where we can in fact fight for the rights that many delegates called for. In fact, I was struck by the call for freedom and justice, for a Freedom and Justice Commission reporting to the UN Secretary. This is a debate, I can tell you right now, in the work that's going on within the UN to actually reform multilateralism, and we need to continue to think about what that looks like. There are two amendments referred to. I know the Standing Orders Committee is looking at the list of amendments, but the call for active labour market policies and indeed the reinforcement of peace, solidarity and national sovereignty amendments, I think all of you will find comfort with when the Standing Orders Committee brings it back. The critical nature of social dialogue for the solutions in response to crisis was reinformed, and of course, again, people calling for the release and of Yaroshok from Belarus, of Lee Tuk-young from Hong Kong, and also the recognition of ongoing areas of occupation like Palestine, but also the absolute coup and the fight for their very existence in Myanmar of our brothers and sisters from the CTUM. I was struck by the fact that people actually feel that very strongly that social fragility is even greater as we watch the decline in our environment, and therefore the climate emergency is the fight of our lives. And young people particularly stress that they want a different model of economy, one of inclusion, elimination of racism, violence, and that's built on sustainability. Manola talked about the vulnerability of home-based workers, and indeed we should never forget, and it is referenced in the statement several times, that workers in the informal economy are our brothers and sisters as well, and we need to organise and formalise their jobs. Again, the call for global supply chain solidarity from CNV and the importance of human rights due diligence. The absolute conclusion from our young sister from Panama about the intergenerational strength that is not just vital, but requires genuine inclusion of young people and of women as equal partners in our movement. I would put to you that there's broad support for the social contract, the international call for unity for both environment and people that we just heard our Korean brother reinforce. And again, I thought that it was summed up well by Pepe, who talked about the unity of purpose for the fight for rights and freedoms, and indeed that only the base of organised labour working together can win this. So a really rich morning, great contributions, and I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Maybe you can also stay there to present the Silver Rose Award to Lee Chung. I invite you to please present the award.
So this is a great privilege on my part, but also it comes with a great deal of sadness that our brother Lee Chuk Young remains in prison in Hong Kong. But in fact, he was awarded on the 16th the Silver Rose Award, which is an award we recognise and support from Solidar and indeed the SPD group of progressive politicians. It is a lifetime award in the sense that it's recognised a lifetime of incredible contribution to democratic rights and freedoms. But I wanted to remind you that Lee's been in prison since April 2021. And for those who wonder why, indeed, we haven't run the kind of global campaign that was called for Yarashok, and we've been much more vocal about Yarashok, it's because he still has, indeed, cases pending. He's still in remand. He's served 20 months already, but he's still in remand for sedition, as is our sister Carol. And that should be heard, that charge, we hope, in the coming months. But it is indeed worrying for us about him languishing in jail. I know his spirit is strong. We know that his lifelong partner is in exile in London with the family, but Lee has our heart. We will never forget that he's imprisoned. We won't forget his lifetime of commitment to his own people and to broader democratic rights and freedoms. And we will stand firm in solidarity to make sure that he actually is free to continue that incredible dedication to a world that we all want. For him to receive the Silver Rose Award does us all proud. And I just ask you to really have a think about the fact that here is a brother again imprisoned, and send him all the positive thoughts that you can. A giant of a Labour hero, Lee Chuk Young.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. I invite delegates to please watch the video on Lee Chung, who has just been awarded.
Lee Chia-kian is the most iconic figure of the independent labor movement in Hong Kong. He dedicated most of his life to the labor and democratic movement in Hong Kong.
I'm Lee Chia-kian. You can all call me Yan. I think Yan is quite a Swedish name, right? So it's easier. Yeah, and actually Yan in Chinese means a very good word. It means human.
Lee was the former General Secretary of the Hong Kong Confederation of Trade Unions and former chairman of the Hong Kong Alliance in support of patriotic democratic movements of China. After graduating from university in 1978, Lee gave up a career in engineering and devoted himself to serving the working people. Later, he joined the Hong Kong Christian Industrial Committee, where he sought compensation for back wages and severance pay for manufacturing workers. Lee was determined to make a change. Many major labor protests over the past 3 decades, such as the 2007 bar benders strike and the 2013 dock workers strike, were all launched with the support of Lee and the Confederation. When the student movement broke out in Beijing in 1989, Lee was responsible for bringing Hong Kong people's donations to Beijing and witnessed the Tiananmen Square massacre with his own eyes. Ever since his return to Hong Kong, he took on the mission of telling the world the truth about June 4th.
If the Chinese government asks the Japanese government to learn from history, they themselves should also learn from history, especially the history of June 4th. But what we see is the regime try to suppress any remembrance of June 4th or any open mourning activity in China. And so we are asking for that the Chinese government should themselves also learn from history.
Under his leadership, the independent trade unions in Hong Kong became the pillar of the democratic movement and always stood firm with the people in the fight for democracy in opposing Article 23 of the Basic Law, the Umbrella Movement, and the Anti-Extradition Law Amendment Bill movement. Over the past 40 years, Lee Chia-kian has never ceased fighting for social justice. Even though it brought him imprisonment, he has no complaints, no regrets.
Lee Chia-kian is a giant amongst our global union family. The ITUC stands fully in support of his lifelong commitment to the fight for democracy, for human and labour rights. These rights have not only been denied to the Hong Kong Council of Trade Unions trying to organise, indeed as the UN Charter of Human Rights allows, I can think of no one more deserving of the Silver Rose Award than our brother Lee.
Thank you. Colleagues, this is indeed a well-deserved award, and I think all of us congratulate young Lee for the Silver Rose Award bestowed on him, and clearly it's a well-deserved award. Delegate, at this point, will now break and reconvene for the side meetings and also the Congress forums this afternoon on technology and also organizing. We will reconvene tomorrow by 9 a.m. and don't forget that we'll start with a video message from the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and therefore it will be good for us to be seated by 9 in the morning. Please also note that we'll start the speaking note tomorrow with those that are already listed, and it will be on the website this evening for those that will be taking the floor. And don't also forget to please return the sets back to the point where we actually took them, or you can alternatively leave them on the table. It will then be picked, but it will be appreciated if we return them to the desks outside the office or outside this meeting venue for them to actually prepare them for tomorrow's meeting. So thank you once again. The meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.